Chapter 1241. Therefore, Lin Shun was a walking piece of unpolished jade to all the top forces. Whoever could recruit him would have a heaven-defying powerhouse rise in the near future. Although it was rare for someone to become one of the top 100,000 geniuses on the genius list without the support of a force, it was not unheard of. However, there were only a few who could reach Lin Chen's level. Since ancient times, there were only a handful of geniuses who could stand out from the top 100,000 geniuses on the genius list in a short period of time, without the support of a force. These monsters without the support of a force almost all survived in the end and became the dominant force in the sacred boundary. That was how the clear sky Sage King rose. Now, Lin Shun had become the most eye-catching person in the eye of the storm. All the forces in the 36 domains had their eyes on him. Lin Shun ran all the way from the second level. Wherever he went, his eyes would shine, and he would constantly use the stealing omen on the sages to steal their attributes. On the third level of the Realm Tower. The Realm Tower was created by a human sage in the primordial era. The space inside was stable and not chaotic. The space inside was countless times larger than what one could see with the naked eye. One level was comparable to a small continent in the mortal world. This was also the reason why the Elder asked Lin Shun to speed up. Under the premise that he could not travel through space, Lin Shun had to fly the distance of a continent. On the third level, there were 5 void islands connected to the north, south, east, and west. The central island was the largest. Each void island covered an area of 100,000 acres, and there were more than 10,000 sages on each void island. There were more than 40,000 sages on the third level alone. The extravagance could be said to be unprecedented. They could witness the birth of a new generation of monsters, and they could even see the new generation of monsters fighting against the old generation of monsters. The central island was the largest, and there were 431 people standing there. Their auras, avatars, and characteristics were too unique. Even if they were gathered together, one could still remember them at a glance. The men were tall and strong, with sharp eyebrows and bright eyes. Just by standing there, they had the demeanor of a great master. Lightning flashed under their feet, and they dominated the world. Some were cold and arrogant, and their entire bodies were like azuras that had descended into the world. Hundreds of saber-chi tornadoes revolved above their heads, and they had the momentum to support the heavens and the earth. There were some whose sharpness was reserved and peerless. When the holy sword was sheathed, endless sword chi was born and extinguished in their eyes. When the holy sword was sheathed, it was like an ascetic cultivator in the mortal world. When it was unsheathed, it shook the heavens. Some were as savage as archaic descendants. They were several zhang tall and had a third vertical eye between their brows. Between their breaths, wind, clouds, dragons, tigers, dragons, and snakes moved swiftly. Some were pure and holy, shining with Buddhist light. They wore kasayas, put their palms together, and thousands of Buddhist wheels rose behind their heads. Their eyes were tightly shut, and every word they spoke seemed to have an extraordinary meaning of enlightening the world. Some of them were strange and unfathomable. They wore black robes that stirred up chilly winds, and there were 9 demonic dragons that coiled beneath their feet. They had a pair of cold eyes that seemed capable of sending people straight to hell. Some of them had a berserk blood energy, and their auras were peerlessly wild. They carried a blood-colored saber on their backs, and they tore open a bloody ray of light in the sky. The saber saint had descended, and the domineering aura between his brows looked disdainfully at the world. All of the women were captivating beauties, and they were devastatingly beautiful. Some of the beauties were exquisite, some were hot and charming, some were mischievous, some were cunning and intelligent, some were charming and cold, and some were extraordinary. They played the zither alone, and their hearts were as clear as a mirror. They were the top geniuses from the entire 36 domains. These 731 people perfectly illustrated what it meant to be a genius. They did not need any proof. They only needed to stand here and all the sages would unanimously believe that they were the peerless geniuses that represented this era. The top 1,000 geniuses on the genius ranking had gathered in the Realm Tower, but only 1/3 of them could truly participate in the reserve competition. There were not many geniuses with reserve tokens. Most of the 700 geniuses had withdrawn or given up their original ranking on the genius ranking and focused on cultivating or collecting reserve tokens. Therefore, the geniuses who were not ranked among them were even more terrifying. No one knew what level they had reached in their cultivation. At this moment, the 731 geniuses were staring straight ahead. Far away from the central island, there were faintly discernible mountains. On the peak of each mountain, there was a figure standing upright. If one were to say that the 731 geniuses had distinct personalities and various avatars, every single one of the figures on the mountain peak had created a brand new world for themselves. The monsters on the genius ranking. Each of the people on the mountain was a peerless monster on the monster genius ranking. Xiao Jing and Long Yijing, who had a feud with Lin Shun, were among them. As long as they passed the reserve competition, they would be qualified to challenge the genius ranking and snatch the other party's ranking. The raging battle intent that filled the entire central island did not need to be spoken. Buzz! It was as if a flame from the 9 heavens had descended to the mortal world and landed on the void island in the east, stunning many geniuses. I have seen such a peerless mental cultivation technique before. That is the Divine Flame Palace's avatar, exclaimed a graceful, white-robed young man among the geniuses. The geniuses slightly activated their sage power and saw through the void, looking thousands of miles away. That one look stunned all the geniuses, regardless of gender. They saw a white-robed heaven immortal descending on the void island in the east. She was quiet, beautiful, and peerless. How could such a person exist in the mortal world? Regardless of gender, the geniuses' first thought was the same. Swoosh! A list glowing with sage light appeared above the geniuses' heads, and many names started to roll. An aged voice spread across the 5 major islands. It was Old Shun who spoke. The reserve competition has officially begun. The opponents drawn will enter the battle dimension through the space door in order. Swoosh! 20 silver space doors, each of them 100 feet tall, opened in the air. All the geniuses stared at the rolling list. At this moment, 40,000 sages focused their attention. Every battle here would be of an extremely high standard. Buzz! The waves sparkled, and the holy light changed. The names started to be arranged neatly. 299th on the genius ranking, Flying Dragon, Startling Clouds, Ji Wuxuan. Against unranked genius, Northern Underworld Darksaber, Mo Ihai. 455th on the genius ranking, Unparalleled Sword, Jian Qingsheng. Against 410th on the genius ranking, 1,000 Miles of Dark Ice, Feng Qingxue. First on the genius ranking, Child of Surprise, Han Yiji. Against unranked genius, Qin Lian. Other than the 1,000th on the genius ranking, God's Descent, Lin Chun. Against unranked genius, Dragon Fist, Yang Wanli. Genius ranking. When they saw the names of the combinations in the 4th row, all the sages were dumbfounded. God's Descent, Lin Chun. Why did his name appear? Wasn't he not here? The powerful figures who were in charge of the various forces were still discussing why this person was absent from this reserve competition. Many sages looked around, but there was no sign of Lin Chun in the central island. Swoosh! 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 After the geniuses got their opponents, they entered the space door in order. A series of screens appeared, showing the situation in the space door. Only the hidden genius, Yang Wanli, was in the 4th space door. He crossed his arms in front of his chest and smirked. What's going on? The list is shown. Where did he go? Could it be a false report? Maybe the elders in the Realm Tower made an exception and registered Lin Chun, and then this person couldn't make it. The sages on the Void Islands were confused. Chapter 1242. While the sages of the 4 islands were discussing, boom, bang, The sound of the wind breaking burst forth, and when it whistled through the air, the dark green battle spear descended like a bolt of lightning on the void island in the west. A beautiful woman in a fiery red dress revealed an inexplicably happy smile. Looks like he has completed our cooperation. It was Scarlet Fairy. On the East Island, a beautiful woman in a white dress suddenly stood up, her eyes filled with longing. It was him. He was here. Goddess, what are you? The handsome young man beside the beautiful woman in the white dress was shocked. He had never seen the goddess so moved. The beautiful woman ignored him and turned into a wisp of smoke. The young man was shocked. In front of the fourth space door, there was a sacred spear. It was like a reincarnation of a phoenix, soaring in the sky. Heavy snow fell from the sky. The young man strolled leisurely in the snow. The snowflakes decorated the young man's body, making him look shiny. He was about 8 feet tall, wearing a brand new silver robe. He had a purple jade belt around his waist and a green bow and a red sword on his back. The green bow was decorated with starlight, vast and mysterious. The red sword surged with flames, radiating the aura of a king from time to time. On the young man's waist were a flying dagger as thin as a cicada's wing and an azure-colored dagger. He walked with the dagger in his hand. His face was like jade, the corners of his mouth were raised, and the space between his eyebrows was glowing. He was indescribably handsome and elegant, faintly revealing a kind of absolute confidence, causing people to be unable to help but exclaim in admiration. What a carefree young man who was like an immortal from painting. Xiao Jinghe stood proudly among the people on the monster list on the mountain peak in the distance. Clang! The young man pulled out his spear and smiled. My apologies, I just went to the 10,000 Dragons Guild and flirted with a few Dragon Race princesses and a few Dragon Race princes. I also found a few young Dragon Race women and picked up a few Dragon Race bloodlines. When I came back, I watched a few romance movies and took a hot bath. I also changed into a new set of clothes. He changed the topic. If there's anything wrong, please keep it to yourself. I won't change it even if you say it. A handsome wise man once told me that if you're handsome, you can do whatever you want. Silence, all the geniuses. These days, you can brag without using your brain just because you're handsome. What kind of grand event was the 10,000 Dragons Conference? The scale of the competition was not at all inferior to the current preparatory competition. In fact, it might even be better. According to the records of the Sage Realm, most of the dragons that could enter the 10,000 Dragons Guild were mid-8th order holy dragons. Their battle prowess was equivalent to a 4th heaven true saint. You, a human, can enter the Myriad Dragons Guild? Could it be that he didn't even eat a single peanut after drinking last night? Whoosh! A streak of divine light flashed, and an exquisite figure floated down from the sky like a cloud. All the geniuses were shocked. The person who had arrived was the peerless beauty from the Divine Flame Palace, who could rival celestial immortals. At this moment, the beautiful woman gazed at Lin Chun, her beautiful eyes filled with endless longing and joy. Lin Chun was slightly stunned. Sister, little brother Lin Chun. The two of them looked at each other, ignoring everything in the world. They only had each other in their eyes. 1 month in the mortal world was 1 year in the sacred boundary. Although Bai Ruoyan had not left the 9 provinces for long, the time she had spent in the sacred boundary was far longer than the time in the mortal world. After Bai Ruoyan had been possessed by the will of the sacred flame, Lin Chun had rescued her. The two of them had been honest with each other in the spiritual world, with their experiences and feelings, and after experiencing spiritual harmony, their hearts were in love with each other. Bai Ruoyan landed in front of Lin Chun, and the two of them were like people in a painting. Lin Chun ignored everyone's shocked gazes and hugged Bai Ruoyan tightly in his arms. The beautiful woman's cheeks flushed red, and she allowed the youth to hug her. She smiled sweetly and said, I knew you would come. I specially came here to wait for you. Before she could finish speaking, the youth's lips pressed against the beautiful woman's lips domineeringly. At this moment, the entire place fell into a strange silence. Boom! The mountains of the eastern island and the central island were in an uproar. On the mountain peak, Xiao Jing's veins were bulging, and Long Yijing's teeth were about to shatter from clenching them. Damn it, this kid had an inexplicably complicated relationship with his sweetheart, the little demon empress, and he also had this kind of relationship with the goddess of the Divine Flame Palace? My God, if this were to spread back to the Divine Flame Palace, those heaven-defying, peerless monsters would go crazy with anger. This woman's status in the Divine Flame Palace is not ordinary. I didn't expect her to have this kind of relationship with Lin Chun. Some of the old voices hidden in the void of the four islands clicked their tongues in wonder. Their lips parted, and there was a sparkling arc between the two of them. Bairuoyan pouted coquettishly, and her beauty was unparalleled. Others are still watching. Lin Chun smiled and said, "So, you mean it's okay when no one is watching?" "Well, I think I don't know Sister Royan well enough. It's not easy to meet you, so I'll get to know you better when no one is around." Bairuoyan pretended to be angry and glared at him, looking extremely charming. Lin Mao shrugged and said indifferently, "If some people want to see it, then let them see it. I just want everyone to know that you're mine. What bullshit Divine Flame Palace? Sooner or later, I'll take you back rightfully." "You." Bairuoyan scratched the tip of his nose and gently helped him tidy up his clothes. "What's the rush? Sister won't run away. Even if a celestial immortal met you, they would have to descend, let alone a mortal like Sister." Lin Chun said seriously, "Don't Sister. I like you as a celestial immortal. It's fine if you descend, but can you occasionally be a celestial immortal?" Cough, cough, cough. Elder Shin coughed lightly. If these two were to continue being lovey-dovey, those young people and monsters from the Divine Flame Palace would probably all go berserk. "Lin Chun, the preliminaries have already begun. If you don't participate in the challenge, it will be considered as forfeiting." Lin Chun scolded in his heart for not understanding the situation, then smiled at Bairuoyan and said, "Sister Rin, please wait a moment." Bairuoyan smiled sweetly. "Well, I want to hear what happened after you came to the sacred boundary." She didn't remind Lin Chun to be careful or anything like that, as if she had absolute confidence in him. Lin Chun stepped into the fourth space gate under many shocked, surprised, jealous, and attentive gazes. Bairuoyan rose with the wind. She floated like a fairy and returned to the guest seat of East Island. "Goddess you!" The handsome young man with a dignified appearance was shocked and angry, gnashing his teeth. "I'll deal with my own affairs. Or do you want to tell me what to do?" Bairuoyan glanced at him and the people behind him indifferently. "I really don't understand. There's so many peerless monsters in the palace, and even I am 10 times or 100 times better than this guy. Why do you still?" The handsome young man was a little agitated. His face turned red, and he even forgot to use honorifics. Bairuoyan shook her head slightly, leaving only one sentence. "In my heart, he is the most outstanding man in the world. Everything I have is given to me by him." In the battle-bit wall, Yang Wanli was wearing the holy armor, looking majestic. His tiger-like eyebrows were slightly raised, and he said with great interest, "You are Lin Chun?" Lin Chun said with a playful smile, "Why, not as handsome as the legends say?" Chapter 1243. "Ha ha ha!" Yang Wanli laughed maniacally. "We'll only know if I'm handsome after we fight. I, Yang Wanli, only recognize the strong. Let me see if you're worthy of the sacred boundary's praise." Yang Wanli's shoulders trembled, and his holy power fist erupted. The 25 holy acupoints in his body glowed, and an azure dragon rushed out of them, stirring up the clouds in all directions. The holy power azure dragon was unleashed along with the fist. Its might explosively increased as it charged towards Lin Chun. A full power dragon fist caused the entire plane to tremble as it struck towards Lin Chun. Seeing Lin Chun's casual attitude, many experts and geniuses from the 36 domains looked forward to the battle. What kind of strength did this legendary young man have? How would he take this attack? Most of them had only heard of Lin Chun's legend and had never seen him in person. Their curiosity towards this child could be said to be extremely strong. Although Yang Wanli didn't have a ranking, he was once ranked 230th on the genius rankings. After that, He had retired from the genius rankings for 100 years and obtained a primordial fist manual, the Dragon Fist. There were few who could match him in close combat, and he was almost invincible in close combat. He went all out right from the start. Obviously, he didn't underestimate Lin Chun. He's using his orange grade technique, the Azure Dragon Fist of the 7 Dragon Fists. What a domineering aura. How is he going to take this punch? I heard that Lin Chun could exchange blows with Long Yijing, who was on the genius roll. Wouldn't it be easy for him to defeat Yang Wanli? Let me guess. Lin Chun will take care of him in 50 moves. Who are you looking down on? Are you looking down on Brother Chen? 50 moves? If you ask me, I'll take at most 20 moves. Do you believe that Yang Wanli will be defeated? I'm betting all my money on Lin Chun winning. If he loses, I'll do a handstand. The next moment, everyone was dumbfounded. Just as Lin Chun was about to raise his hand, his expression suddenly changed. Bang! Rumble! The plane shook, and the Azure Dragon slammed into Lin Chen's body, shaking heaven and earth. Lin Chen was blasted 100 miles away by the punch. They fell straight into the ley line abyss of the battle plane. A Saint Realm old man in the Western Island who was sipping hot tea directly spat out the tea in the face of his old friend next to him. What? Many cultivators' mouths twitched. Lin Chun hadn't even been able to withstand a single blow, and he had been sent flying? Some of the professionally trained geniuses on the genius ranking couldn't help but laugh. Could it be a clone? Yang Wanli reacted quickly. His saint acupoints glowed brightly as his body was enveloped in holy energy. He immediately entered a defensive state. He had heard of Lin Chen's legend. He had a super heaven-defying cloning technique, so powerful that it could even deceive the genius rankings. However, no clones came to attack him. Cough, cough, cough. Lin Chun coughed lightly as he pushed away a piece of gravel. His eyes were filled with surprise. No clones? When Yang Wanli discovered that there was still only one Lin Chun, he seized the opportunity to take a step forward. He activated his body movement technique and flew into the sky like a dragon. He flashed and appeared in front of Lin Chun in a few breaths. Kaboom! Yang Wanli raised his hand and punched Lin Chun in the chest, sending him flying into the sky. Whoosh! Yang Wanli's body movement technique was superb. He was a close combat cultivator. He flashed into a ray of yellow light and attacked Lin Chun violently. His punches were swift and fierce, but he didn't forget to be vigilant of his surroundings. Bam! 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 Yang Wanli was like a raging storm, bombarding Lin Chun all the way. In this exchange, Lin Chun was actually being suppressed by him. He couldn't fight back at all. F***, I was wrong. I put all my money on him. F***. This kid's reputation is undeserved. F***. Many Sage Realm cultivators cursed. They had extraordinary experience. How could they not see that Lin Chun was being beaten up one-sidedly? Finally, Lin Chun used his body movement technique and dodged Yang Wanli's attacks. He pulled out his sword as he opened up the distance between them. The Four Islands cultivators perked up again. It's coming, it's coming. Lin Chun had finally pulled out his sword. Legend had it that he had slaughtered more than a dozen sages. Could it be that today was an eye-opener? Rip! Lin Chun held the azure moon in his hand and slashed out a moonlight slash that illuminated heaven and earth. However, the moment the slash was unleashed, its power suddenly decreased, and its speed slowed down several times. It looked like it was several times weaker in an instant. F***, can you do it? Are you suffering from kidney deficiency? Bam! Yang Wanli smashed his Moon Mirror Imperial God with one punch. He couldn't help but laugh. No way. The legendary Lin Chun is only capable of this? Yang Wanli stepped on a streak of dragon chi and kicked Lin Chun horizontally at an extremely fast speed. Lin Chun was knocked back again. Even some hidden, powerful figures from the 7th rank families were dumbfounded. What was going on? This wasn't right. They had thought that Lin Chen's strength might not reach their expectations, but it shouldn't be that bad. What is called an embroidered pillow? What is called a golden exterior but a rotten interior? This Lin Chun is a perfect actor. It's so funny. I'm amused. Is this the legendary, the most handsome appearance gets the most vicious beating? Hey, Yang Wanli, he's still a kid. Don't let him go. Hit him in the face. On the Central Island, many Sage Realm geniuses on the genius ranking who hadn't fought yet laughed. East Island, VIP seats. The handsome young man from Shunyan Palace sneered. That's it, goddess. Is this the most outstanding man in the world, you said? The handsome young man looked at Bairuan. The 10 beautiful maids couldn't help but look at him. They had heard Bairuan mention this young man countless times. Was this really the case? They saw that Bairuan didn't hear them at all. The handsome young man stared at the light screen of the space plane and couldn't help but exclaim, "Long time no see. I didn't expect Brother Lin Shan to look so handsome even when he's being beaten." Everyone laughed. At the summit of the mountain, Long Yijing and Xiao Jing both revealed puzzled expressions. They had met Lin Shan face to face. This kid wasn't that weak. Did something happen to this kid in the past few months, and he can't use his strength? Long Yijing was secretly delighted. In the battle plane, Lin Shan had just unsealed the Tai E space. Before he could use the power of the Saint Acupoint, it began to erupt. A surge of Saint power connected all of Lin Shan's Saint Acupoints, indirectly causing him to be unable to use his strength. F***CK, this is too funny. The Acupoints are going to explode at this juncture? Lin Shan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He mobilized all of his clones to focus on the Saint power surging in the Tai E space and rushed to the next Saint Acupoint. Forget it. Lin Shan, I don't know what you're playing at. You only have this much strength. I'm so disappointed. The wind and clouds changed suddenly. Yang Wanli mobilized the power of 4 odd crystals. Wind, cloud, thunder, and lightning gathered in his fist. It was as if he was holding 4 giant dragons. He punched Lin Shan. Boom, boom. Suddenly, the entire plane shook violently. A terrifying explosion erupted from the center of the two of them. It was as if heaven and earth had been overturned, and the plane had collapsed. The momentum was so strong that it alarmed many experts. This was a battle plane that could withstand a late 4th Heaven True Saint's attack. Although Yang Wanli's fist technique was strong, its power was far from this level, right? Whoosh! Amidst the dust and smoke, a figure flew out like a meteor. He vomited blood and fainted. What surprised everyone was that the person was actually Yang Wanli. What's going on? Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. At this moment, many reclusive old monsters stood up. Their eyes were filled with doubt and shock as they stared at the 4th battle plane. Their expressions were as if they had seen a ghost. Chapter 1244. The arrogant Saint Stage geniuses on the genius ranking were shocked and stunned. Yang Wanli was the one who was sent flying? Could it be that Lin Shan had used his true strength? Under everyone's watchful eyes, the energy wave dissipated. Yang Wanli fell to the ground, unconscious. His body twitched, and cracks appeared on his saint armor. One move to determine the victor? Yang Wanli had actually lost. Wong. A 9-colored ray of light shone brightly, and 10 Saint Acupoints shone brightly on Lin Shan's body. Crack, crack, crack. The sound of breaking through reverberated in the air. The 11th Saint Acupoint lit up on Lin Shan's body. Everyone was stunned. What? He broke through? However, before they could figure out what was going on, bang! From Lin Shan's body, another wave of Saint energy that could shake the entire realm erupted. It turned into a loud rumble, and the entire realm shook, just like before. Lin Shan's 12th Saint Acupoint exploded. Crazy. This world must have gone crazy. At that moment, all the true saints felt their scalps go numb. They finally realized the severity of the situation. On the Western Island, the reclusive old monsters' mouths twitched. F***CK. This brat is actually exploding his acupoints. Exploding acupoints was a once-in-a-lifetime phenomenon for combat emperors when they broke through to the true saint realm. Lin Shan could actually explode his acupoints when he was breaking through to the 2nd Heaven True Saint realm. What was even more terrifying was that Yang Wanli had been knocked unconscious by the energy wave and aura. Even someone as strong as Old Shin could not help but feel his mouth twitch as he stood in the air. This is King awesome. In the preliminary rounds of the Monstrous Geniuses list, what kind of strange results had not appeared before? There was an instant kill, there was an attribute counter, there was a sneak attack at the start of the match, and there was even a handsome man who was even more handsome than Lin Chun who used a honey trap to seduce a female genius to win. However, no one had ever used the energy wave of an acupoint explosion to defeat their opponent. Some of the sage stage geniuses instantly felt a chill run down their spines. This was too King terrifying. Exploding a person's acupoints could seriously injure them. This Lin Chun was definitely one of a kind. It could be said to be the most ridiculous way to win in the history of the reserve tournament. TSK. Bang. 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 Lin Chin's acupoints exploded like a hot knife through butter. His 16th acupoint exploded in an instant, leaving all the experts dumbfounded. The Divine Flame Palace youth who had previously looked down on Lin Chun was now gaping so wide his mouth could fit an egg. Every single time Lin Chin's acupoints exploded, it felt as though the heavens and earth were about to collapse. Even a third heaven true Saint Realm expert with 30 acupoints open felt his scalp go numb from the fear of death. The power of Lin Chin's exploding acupoints could be said to be a terrifying disaster. When he had reached the Saint Realm, the 9 acupoints he had detonated were enough to shake the 9 heavens. There was no need to mention the acupoint ceiling after reaching the first heaven true Saint Realm. How many powerful enemies did he kill when Tai sealed his acupoints? An elder of the primordial dragon tribe, the Dragon Crown Prince, and a criminal of the Dragon Penitentiary. Which one of them wasn't terrifyingly strong? Especially the hundreds of prisoners Lin Chun had killed in the Dragon Penitentiary. Every single one of them had been at least a 4th heaven true Saint Realm expert when they were alive. The huge amount of high-grade battle chi he had obtained had all been absorbed in his body, but it had been suppressed by Lin Chin's acupoint sealing technique. In the previous battle, when he had unsealed his acupoints, it had been like a flood of 10,000 volcanoes that had been suppressed for thousands of years had erupted all at once. The main reason for the explosive power was Lin Chin's doppelganger. Lin Chin's doppelganger had guided the explosive holy chi to break through his acupoints. The level 7 illusory rune could create 6 doppelgangers. Including the main body, it was equivalent to 7 Lin Chin's acupoints exploding. 7 Lin Chin's, 7 Tai emptiness. Including the Tai emptiness, each of them would have 20 acupoints. In total, they would have 140 acupoints. The power of a first heaven true Saint Realm acupoint was equivalent to 100 million dragon power points. When 140 first heaven true Saint Realm acupoints were gathered at a single point, it was equivalent to 14 billion dragon power points. This was equivalent to 14 billion dragon power points. Even without using any battle techniques, the explosive power was comparable to a 4th heaven true Saint Realm attack. Previously, Yang Wanli had been on guard against Lin Chin's doppelganger sneak attack. Therefore, when his acupoints exploded, he had subconsciously activated his defensive battle technique. If it weren't for his 2nd grade Saint armor and Yang Wanli's defensive battle technique, Yang Wanli's acupoint explosion wouldn't have just left him unconscious. Pung, pung, pung. Lin Chin broke through another 3 acupoints. Holy light shone brightly, and 18 acupoints appeared around Lin Chin's body. That heaven-defying aura was like the birth of a furious dragon as he charged forward once more. 20th Saint acupoint, open for me. Pung. 9-colored holy chi collided, and an earth-shattering explosion erupted. Lin Chin's 20th Saint acupoint exploded. Finally, after breaking through the 20th Saint acupoint, Lin Chin's accumulation from the 10,000 Dragons Conference was finally exhausted. Ho! Lin Chin let out a long breath. Within the battle plane, 20 hexagonal rays of light flashed around Lin Chen's body. He was extremely beautiful, and the 9-colored holy wheel hovered above his head. Beneath his feet was a 9-colored holy radiance. The 5 tribulations of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth circled around his body. Holy chi tornadoes whistled in front of him, and lightning flashed everywhere. The holy light of light and darkness circulated, and the light of the odd crystals sparkled like stars. Lin Chen's every move was like a god descending to the mortal world. His aura was extraordinary. Within the spatial screen, the tens of thousands of saints on the 4 islands were shocked. Their mouths trembled. It was as though they had seen a miracle. 10 acupoints exploded in a row. Not only did he cause Yang Wanli to lose, but he had also broken the record of 9 acupoints exploding when he had become a true saint. Describing him as a genius was pale in comparison. Describing him as a monster was no longer enough to describe how heaven-defying he was. His holy power is powerful and domineering. It's not superficial at all. He perfectly controlled the power of 10 saint acupoints exploding in a row. It's too terrifying. Since ancient times, no one has tried to explode their acupoints continuously after becoming a true saint. This kid is not only the first, but he might be the last. We have to rope him in, pass down the order immediately, summon all the princesses in my holy nation. I will do everything I can. Even if I can't rope him in, I have to befriend him. All the forces and veteran experts present were in an uproar. Within the battle plane, Lin Chen's eyes revealed a domineering spirit that looked down on the world. With 20 saint acupoints, I wonder if my combat strength can shake a 4th heaven true saint or higher. At this moment, Lin Chen looked around and said in astonishment, "Brother Wanli, where did you go? I just exploded my acupoints a little, and you disappeared." There's a song that's really good. 10,000 miles of geniuses will never fall. The handsome Lin Chen is so flirtatious. I haven't even started flirting, and you're gone. Brother Wanli, why did you faint? Quick, I have a long kingwo here. The corners of the geniuses' mouths twitched. When they saw Lin Chen personally carrying Yang Wanli out of the battle plane, their hearts turned cold. More than half of the geniuses prayed in their hearts, "Please don't draw this pervert in the next few rounds." Chapter 1245. What made the scalps of some of the reclusive old monsters go numb was Lin Chen's vitality. This brat was beaten up by Yang Wanli, but he's completely fine. His vitality is as strong as a desolate beast's. Even a 4th heaven true saint wouldn't dare to take so many punches from Yang Wanli without any defense. This brat has a lot of secrets on him. The expressions of the geniuses turned solemn. On the central island, Lin Chen had won, and he had even brought Yang Wanli out with him. After consuming the long kingwo, Yang Wanli regained his consciousness. When he realized that he had left the battlefield, he was shocked. I actually lost. I even fainted. As expected, Brother Lin Chen, your skills are better than mine. I was completely fooled by you. Yang Wanli smiled bitterly. He didn't blame Lin Chen for tricking him. In a real battle, one would use everything to win. If it had been a battle of life and death, Yang Wanli would have been the one to die. Yang Wanli was impatient and curious. He grabbed Lin Chen's arm and asked seriously, "Brother Lin, you're truly a legendary expert. I couldn't even see any traces of your attack. May I ask what heaven-defying move Brother Lin used to defeat me? Please tell me." Yang Wanli's question made some of the geniuses facepalm. "If I tell you that I lost because of his acupuncture points, won't you go crazy with anger?" Lin Chen replied in a serious tone. "Speaking of which, I won by luck. I pretended to be weak until the end before I used my trump card, the invincible whirlwind dragon claw. I barely managed to hit you." Yang Wanli fell into deep thought. "No wonder your strength was so terrifying. I can't blame you for losing." Everyone's lips twitched when they heard Yang Wanli sigh. Several female geniuses looked at Lin Chen in surprise. What a good and kind young man. He even knows how to take care of other people's feelings. He's an honest kid, class leader. A peerless figure smiled and landed beside Lin Shun. It was Han Yiji. As expected of the class leader, you defeated your opponent faster than me. Han Yiji's smile stupefied countless geniuses. Both men and women were captivated. Lin Xiao pretended to be proud. Of course, your class president, can last or be fast. It's all up to me. While the two of them were chatting and laughing, an aged voice came from the void. Lin Shun, we, the daughters of the Nanlong family, have admired you for a long time. I wonder if we can have the honor of inviting you to the West Island. We'll definitely treat you with the highest standards. I've heard of Lin Chin's great name for a long time, and it's indeed a well-deserved reputation. Little friend's alchemy skills are superb. I wonder if you would consider becoming a guest elder in my 9 sacred sect? Our Saint Pavilion has enough top-notch pill recipes. If you're interested, you can take the orange-grade pill refinement handprint. I've heard that Brother Lin Shun has always been extraordinary. Today, you've broadened my horizons. Can you come to the North Island for a gathering? I'm the Supreme Elder of the Thousand-Wheel Moon Sacred Pavilion, a 7th-grade sect. The saintess of my pavilion is interested in discussing some techniques with you. Hey, little guy, I heard that you have a good relationship with our Qingxin. Do you want to come to the sword domain to have some fun? Which sword saint do you want to be apprenticed to? As long as you can name him, I'll take you to him. The voices that came from the void caused the hearts of the geniuses on the genius rankings to tremble. 7th grade, 7th grade, 7th grade again. Various powerful figures of the 7th grade families were personally recruiting Lin Shun. Even a mysterious and ancient sword domain had sent him an invitation. Although the geniuses were all from 6th grade sects, there was a huge gap between a 6th grade and a 7th grade. They had never seen a genius or a demon who could be recruited by so many 7th grade forces at the same time. Every member of 7th grade family had a foundation comparable to a giant. They were the peak of the sacred boundary. Forces above the 7th grade wouldn't appear in the world. It was normal for a 4th heaven true saint to enter a 6th grade force. As for the 6th grade forces, a 4th heaven true saint could only be considered a low-level existence. Lin Shun clasped his hands together towards the voice transmission in the air and smiled. Everyone, I'm not a vulgar person. I have a free nature, and I don't want to join any sect for the time being. As soon as he said that, some of the geniuses wanted to rush up and beat Lin Shun up. What you're rejecting is an endless opportunity. It's fine. There's still plenty of time in the future. It's normal for a young hero to have a personality. Even if you don't join a sect, we can still be friends. The voice in the void was extremely gentle. It didn't sound like a lofty 7th grade giant at all. Lin Chin's treatment made everyone envious. Comparing oneself to others would only make one angry. A bunch of old foxes still trying to worm their way into being friends. No matter what, I won't join your forces. Lin Chin raised his eyebrows and brought Han Yiji to the Eastern Island. Sister Ruoyan. When Lin Shun landed on the Eastern Island, a scorching aura swept over. Lin Shun walked leisurely in the void. His eyes narrowed, and his mental force erupted like a flash flood. Rumble. The handsome young man who tried to suppress him changed his expression slightly. This mental force? Lin Shun patted his shoulder and mocked. Why? Is this the tolerance of the people from the Divine Flame Palace? Boom, boom, boom. The handsome young man was enraged. The 9 solar flame saint wheels above his head emitted blazing flames as he tried to suppress Lin Shun. Han Yiji stood beside Lin Shun without batting an eyelid. Oh, the strength of a monstrous genius's list? Lin Shun was relaxed. He didn't seem to have any intention of fighting. Oyan frowned slightly. A wisp of pure white, sacred fire flashed past her beautiful eyes. Her anger was beginning to show. Young Master Qingxiu, although I respect the Divine Flame Palace, it doesn't mean you can mess around. An immortal-like old man walked out of the void above the Eastern Island. He was the person in charge of the preliminaries, Elder Shun. No, Qingxiu wouldn't dare to be presumptuous. The handsome young man was uncertain. He cupped his fists at Elder Shen. Lin Chen smirked. Qingxiu, you? Do you have kidney deficiency? Why are you suddenly scared? Young Master Qingxiu glared at him. Lin Chen said again, if you're not convinced, come down and fight. Young Master Qingxiu said, do you want to die? Lin Chen said, at most, I'll give you a handicap of 1 hand. Young Master Qingxiu's mouth twitched. How dare a guy with 20 saint points who hasn't even reached the 3rd level of the saint realm be so arrogant? Lin Chen said again, if you don't say anything, I'll give you a handicap of 2 hands. If you're still scared, I'll give you a handicap of 2 feet. The 10 beautiful maids of the Divine Flame Palace who served by Ruoyan were puzzled. A handicap of 2 hands and 2 feet? How are they going to fight? You're going too far. Lin Chen said, you're going too far? Your request is a little high. Then I won't even use my saint power. Are you still scared like this? Bai Ruoyan burst into laughter. Han Yizhi covered her mouth to stifle her laughter. Young Master Qingxiu was angered by Lin Chen. He was a monstrous genius of the Divine Flame Palace. Under normal circumstances, he wouldn't lose his composure like this. But facing Lin Chen, he couldn't stay calm at all. He had kissed the goddess of his dreams, and he even pulled her. F***CK. Chapter 1246. Regardless of whether it was the Divine Flame Palace or outside of it, it was extremely difficult to even meet Bai Ruoyan, let alone get intimate with her. Why did it have to be this kid? Young Master Qing Su roared angrily. I hope you can pass the preliminaries. When I challenge you, don't be a coward. When a monster challenged a monster on the monster list, the challenger could not refuse. However, when a monster on a monster list challenged a candidate, the candidate had the right to refuse. Young Master Qing Su wished he could chop Lin Chen into pieces. Lin Chen smiled playfully. As you wish. At this moment, Old Shen walked over. Little guy. Old Shen's voice was unusually cordial. Do you want to join my boundary tower? Don't worry, you'll just be a guest in name. You'll still receive benefits and offerings. You can even stay away for 180 years if you don't have anything to do. Moreover, our boundary tower is a neutral party. We won't favor any faction's grievances. It's the most peaceful choice. What do you think? Seeing that Old Shen's eyes were thirsty for talent, Lin Chen was a little wary. These old foxes had lived for countless years. If he fell into their trap, he might not be able to climb out. Well, I'll think about it. Before he finished speaking, a fragrant wind blew, and another stunning beauty appeared out of thin air. She was surrounded by a faint illusion of crimson cherry blossoms. Greetings, Old Shen. The beauty bowed slightly, neither servile nor overbearing. She then smiled sweetly at Lin Chen. What do you think, young master? Let's cooperate. Before Fairy Scarlet finished speaking, Lin Chen flicked his finger, and a fragment of the illusory enchantment stone shot toward the beauty. She caught it with one hand, and her face could not hide her surprise. An exquisite storage ring floated in front of Lin Chen. Fairy Scarlet smiled and said, "This is the promised reward. Thank you for helping me solve a problem." Lin Chen took the storage ring and used his spiritual consciousness to penetrate it. A colorful spiritual plant of providence floated in the storage ring. If there are more opportunities like this in the future, remember to look for me. Lin Chen chuckled. This was a mid-grade spirit plant of destiny seed. Its value was immeasurable. Fairy Crimson's beautiful eyes turned. When she looked at Bai Ruoyan, she smiled faintly. Young master is truly fortunate. You even have a relationship with this fairy from Divine Flame Palace. Suddenly, Bai Ruoyan pulled on Lin Chen's arm, her smile unmatched in her generation. Senior, I still have something to discuss with little brother Lin Chen. Let's end our conversation here. After saying that, Bai Ruoyan pulled Lin Chen and rode the wind. Young Master Qing Su wanted to stop them, but was intimidated by Bai Ruoyan's cold gaze. Old Shen looked in the direction where the two of them left and shook his head in amazement. This Lin Chen brat is truly a strange person. Women of the Divine Flame Palace usually have perfect temperaments. How could they be so resolutely in love with one person? East Island, inside a gorgeous palace. This was the resting area prepared by the Boundary Tower for VIPs. In a flowery pavilion full of vitality, Lin Shun and Bai Ruoyan were alone after not seeing each other for a long time. Bai Ruoyan held Lin Chen's palm tightly and asked him about his experiences after leaving the 9 provinces. From the soul-stirring battle with the fake gods, to landing in the sacred boundary, to encountering the genius list for the first time, to Tsongyu's secret realm, the 4-way conference, meeting everyone from Class 66, being chased by a group of sages, and even the fact that Lin Shun obtained the war god bracers from Bai Ruoyan. Although Bai Ruoyan had been inquiring about Lin Shun and knew about his experiences after coming to the sacred boundary, it was 2 different things to hear it from the mouth of the young man she loved. You should really thank Ice Heart Palace. They help you a lot. Fortunately, you didn't encounter any danger. Why are you still so stubborn after entering the Sage King's tomb? Bai Ruoyan stroked the young man's cheek and frowned. The 2 of them stayed alone for an unknown amount of time. Suddenly, Bai Ruoyan took out an ancient scroll from her storage ring and handed it to Lin Shun. Little brother Lin Shun, I made an exception this time. I don't know when we'll meet again. Take this. It can help you a lot. Lin Shun took it curiously. When he opened the ancient scroll with his saint power, a series of ancient words appeared in his mind. 9-layer burning sky palm, a fire-type orange tier palm technique. The palm technique is divided into 9 layers, and the 9 layers combine into one. Its power is comparable to an intermediate orange tier battle skill. 9-layer combining into one requires at least 30 saint points to try. Lin Shun was shocked. This technique was terrifyingly powerful. Intermediate orange tier and elementary orange tier seem to be only 1 level apart, but its value and power were several times higher. Throughout the time Lin Shun spent roaming the holy world, he had never seen a mid-orange tier cultivation technique. Only a small number of powerhouses possessed orange tier, low-level cultivation methods. Intermediate orange tier techniques were practically a legendary existence. Even in rank 6 sects, there are only a handful of intermediate orange rank cultivation techniques. Sister Ruoyan, where did you get this technique? Lin Shun was touched. Bai Ruoyan smiled and answered, it belongs to the mythical Flame Palace. But isn't this supposed to be a technique for you to cultivate? If it goes missing, won't they blame you? Bai Ruoyan placed his hand on her cheek. These questions are not worth mentioning. Nothing in this world is more important than a single strand of your hair. Lin Chen's heart was moved. Who could resist a fairy's words of love? Lin Chen hugged the beauty tightly in his arms. The beautiful fairy's delicate body trembled slightly, and she suddenly giggled in his arms. Little brother Lin Shun, your body isn't behaving. Lin Shun said in all seriousness, Sister Ruoyan, let's continue what we were interrupted when we were on the holy fire level. I don't want to tolerate it anymore. Bai Ruoyan raised her head, her beautiful eyes gazing at him with an apologetic look. Little brother Lin Shun, my heart technique isn't complete. If I lose my virginity, my heart technique realm will be lost. Lin Shun felt like he was struck by lightning. He was so angry that his mouth trembled. What was this? Again? Why was it this plot again? Bai Ruoyan's beautiful blue eyes moved as she looked at him seriously. Suddenly, her face flushed red, as if she was a fairy who had fallen in love. She said softly, if little brother Lin Shun wants it, I can give up everything. It's okay even if I want it now, no? Lin Chen's breathing trembled slightly, and he rejected it as if his heart was being cut by a knife. Embracing a fairy, an arrow on the bow. At this moment, it was too difficult to say the word no. From the mythical Flame Palace's attitude, Lin Shun could roughly guess how highly the mythical Flame Palace valued Sister Ruoyan. If there was a problem with her heart technique, it might directly affect her foundation and even her safety. It's been hard on second brother. I've let you down. You haven't even had sex since the beginning. Lin Shun wanted to cry, but had no tears. He let out a long, tragic sigh from the bottom of his heart that belonged only to Lin Shuai. I want it. What's the use of this iron staff? In the secret chamber, consuming 680,000 points of high-level ability essence. beginning to integrate 9-level burning sky palm cultivation memory, specifying a target to integrate 9-level burning sky palm cultivation skill. Consumption doubled, consuming 1,220,000 points of high-level ability essence. Lin Shun consumed 1,900,000 points of ability essence in one go. He and Bai Ruoyan integrated 9-level burning sky palm cultivation memory at the same time. If the mythical Flame Palace found out that she had given him such an important ability, she would inevitably be held accountable or punished no matter how high her status was. Although Bai Ruoyan did not care, Lin Shun could not do that. He could not allow Sister Ruoyan to be wrong. Chapter 1247. So mystical. After a long period of seclusion, Bai Ruoyan woke up. Her beautiful eyes were filled with astonishment. The cultivation method of the 9-layer Burning Heavens palm, its usage, secrets, techniques, and key points were all perfectly engraved into her memory. It was as if she had practiced it countless times since she was born. She could perfectly perform this cultivation technique. Little brother Lin Shun, you can actually help others cultivate this cultivation technique so quickly and efficiently. This is simply a godlike method, Bai Ruoyan exclaimed. If she cultivated normally, even if she had the eternal sacred fire, she would still need about a year to complete the beginner level of this cultivation technique. With this, Lin Shun had directly saved her several years or even 10 years of cultivation time. Even more astonished was Lin Shun. The speed at which Sister Ruoyan integrated the cultivation memories of the 9-layer Burning Heavens palm was actually faster than all of his clones combined. She had completely integrated it in 2 days. Lin Shun couldn't help but sigh at the power of the eternal sacred fire. Lin Shun smiled and said, "Fortunately, this isn't without a price. The amount of cultivation memories I can help others is very limited. There's a price to pay." "Then are you all right?" Bai Ruoyan was seriously worried. Her slender fingers unbuttoned his clothes. The more extraordinary something was, the greater the price one had to pay. The peerless beauty quickly sized up Lin Shun's entire body, afraid that something bad would happen to him. "Ah, there really is something wrong. Heavens, how did you get injured like this? It's all swollen. Don't do this again. Big sister will help you." The beautiful smile of the celestial fairy was like a crimson sunset. That peerless charm gradually became stronger. She lightly opened her white teeth. Lin Shun was greatly embarrassed. The elegant celestial fairy's beautiful eyes narrowed slightly. Her dimples rose as she gradually became anxious. Lin Shun went from being pleasantly surprised to being at ease, to being like a living celestial, to slightly sucking in cold air. The ups and downs of life. On the central island, today was the day of the second round of drawing lots. Lin Shun arrived empty-handed. His silver robe was adorned with starlight. It was engraved with the character Chun, left behind by a beautiful woman. He wore a feathered crown on his head, and he looked fresh and refined. His eyebrows were like swords, and his nose was tall and straight. He was handsome and elegant, and he had the charm of an immortal young master traveling through the mortal world. Although I don't like this guy, why do I feel that his temperament is becoming more and more handsome? So annoying. I really want to hit him. I wonder which unlucky genius will draw him this time. Due to the explosion of his acupoints last time, I wasn't able to see his true strength. What a pity. By the way, what's going on with young Wanli going home to farm? I heard that after he found out that Lin Shun had exploded his acupoints and lost, he even said that he would practice some Bulsh Astris T fist art. He threw away his radiant sacred armor and left. While the geniuses were talking, the list in the sky started rolling again. The clothes that Sister Ruoyan sewed for me are so comfortable. While Lin Shun was sighing, Han Iji smiled and tugged at the corner of his clothes. "Class monitor, the name list is out. You're in the first batch again." Lin Shun saw his opponent. Out of the top 1,000 on the genius leaderboard, Lin Shun against Xiao Zhou, the 51st on the genius leaderboard. When they saw Lin Shun's opponent, many of the Sage Stage experts were excited. This was going to be interesting. Xiao Zhodian was in the top 100 on the Genius leaderboard. He did not need a substitute token to participate in the substitute competition, let alone the 51st place. He was a true seeded contestant. Almost many forces were optimistic that Xiao Zhodian would break through the encirclement and become the new generation of monsters on the Genius leaderboard. Lin Chun stepped into the third spatial gate. Xiao Zhodian, who was in a green robe, had been waiting for Lin Chun. He held a white paper fan in his hand and was confident that he could control the situation. "You're Lin Chun? I'm looking forward to seeing you show me more strength than before. Otherwise, I'll be very disappointed. I'm not Yang Wanli. Ordinary tricks won't be able to defeat me." After saying that, Xiao Zhoutian closed his fan and shook his shoulders. Rumble. A terrifying saint aura burst out from his 29 saint acupoints, turning into yin-yang saint brilliance that was thousands of feet long. One black and one white circled around Xiao Zhoutian's body, and his eyes turned into one black and one white. It was extremely mysterious. Other than that, he had also refined 5 odd crystals, 3 yin attribute and 2 yang attribute, 29 sage points. Has this kid also reached this realm? He's indeed terrifying. Some of the veteran sages from the rank 5 and rank 6 families were solemn. Those who could be on the Genius leaderboard were below the age of 2,000. When a sage stage cultivator cultivated, they would sometimes go into seclusion for a few decades. To a sage stage genius, 2,000 years was like a mortal's 20 years. To be able to open 29 sage points at such a young age, he was undoubtedly a true monster. Looking at the current Genius leaderboard, Long, Yi Jing, Xiao Jing, and the other lower-ranked monsters only had 30 sage points. The current top 30 on the Genius leaderboard also had 30 sage points. Xiao Zhoutian's figure flashed and instantly appeared above Lin Chen's head. Universe Creation Diagram. He activated the yin-yang dual odd crystals and took out an ancient black and white diagram that rapidly expanded above Lin Chen's head. Yin-yang sacred power, suppress. The diagram was engraved with ancient Buddhas, ancient demon kings, and yin-yang twins. It washed over the surging yin-yang sacred power and shone down thousands of yin-yang sacred light. Finally, it condensed into a sacred light that pierced through heaven and earth and shone in Lin Chen's direction. That's it. Lin Chen smiled faintly, and 2 pure spiritual power, blazing dragons rose from the top of his head. Roar! Roar! The 2 spiritual burning dragons roared, and their roars were like rolling sonic booms that instantly shattered the yin-yang sacred light. Puffed. The second-grade sacred artifact, the universal fortune diagram, burst into flames with a sizzling sound. As the owner of the sacred artifact, Xiao Zhodian was the first to be affected. He spat out a mouthful of blood, and his spiritual power withered. What? Xiao Zhodian was even more shocked. He realized that the flames burning on the universe creation diagram were actually formed by pure spiritual power and couldn't be extinguished at all unless he used his spiritual power to extinguish it. However, his spiritual power had only just advanced to the saint realm. The moment the second-grade sacred artifact universe creation diagram was burned until it lost its spirituality, Lin Chen injected all his sacred points into the fire-type odd crystal. Lin Chen raised his hand and slammed it into the sky. Boom! Waves of fire surged, and a scorching aura burst out from Lin Chen's 5 fingers. It was as if even holy qi could be burned into nothingness. Endless sacred flames overturned heaven and earth. The giant burning palm carried 6 billion dragon power that could shake the continent. It was ready to be unleashed, and its power and holy qi erupted in an instant. It blasted toward Xiao Zhodian. Boom! Boom! The universe creation diagram exploded in an instant, and Xiao Zhoutian was sent flying into the sky with blood splattering everywhere. The universe creation diagram turned into attribute light balls that scattered all over the sky and shattered on the ground. Hiss! All the geniuses gasped. One move, one palm. The seeded genius candidate for the monster rankings was defeated. That's F asterisk King, ridiculously strong. This was comparable to the strength of the top 10 geniuses on the monster rankings. Young Master Ching Su stared intently at the battle screen. That's the Divine Flame Palace's sky-burning palm? Young Master Ching Su glanced at Bai Ruoyan unwillingly. Her beautiful eyes were glistening, and even if she was just watching, her posture was still elegant. Young Master Ching Su could roughly guess that Lin Chen's sky-burning palm was related to Bai Ruoyan. However, what he couldn't accept was how he could learn it in such a short period of time. Moreover, the range used was even more perfect than his, and the timing and attack were almost flawless. It was as if he had practiced this technique thousands of times. Chapter 1248. Lin Shun had collected all the attribute light balls that Xiao Zhoutian had dropped from the Shattered Universe fortune diagram. He had obtained a large amount of set essences. What kind of profound cultivation technique is that? His mental power is probably at the middle stage of the Saint Realm. The mental power technique he used is at least at the orange grade. He used his mental power to burn away the unique characteristics of the second grade Saint artifact, causing it to be unable to protect itself. Then, he used pure strength and a heaven-defying palm strike to shatter it. Under normal circumstances, shattering a second-grade Saint artifact is no different from killing a third Heaven True Saint. If it wasn't for the universe fortune diagram, Xiao Zhoutian would have been smashed into pieces by now. On the Four Islands, the experienced and sharp-eyed rank 6 aristocratic families saw through the clues with a single glance. All the experts who had doubts about Lin Chun before this were dispelled at this moment. In the second round, Lin Chun wins. Old Chun announced. Lin Chun slowly walked out of the battle area. On the central island, no one dared to look at Lin Chun directly. Based on the battle between Lin Chun and Xiao Zhoutian, only the top 10 experts on the genius list had the qualifications to compete with him. This is the strength of a perfect second Heaven True Saint. I have twice the number of Saint acupuncture points compared to ordinary experts. The Tai Sky concealing technique is truly a profound cultivation technique. Lin Chun was looking forward to his strength when he stepped into a higher realm. Normally, a perfect second Heaven True Saint would have 3 billion dragon energy points after activating 20 Saint acupuncture points. A second Heaven True Saint would have 200 million dragon energy points, and a perfect second Heaven True Saint would have 3 billion dragon energy points. Lin Chun had twice the number of Saint acupuncture points, and he had 6 billion dragon energy points. The strength of his shell was 6 billion dragon energy points, and the power of his holy chi was 6 billion dragon energy points. Lin Chen's current strength could suppress any perfect third Heaven True Saint. You're really a monster. Compared to when you were in the illusory heart-charming dragon clan, you're so much stronger. A lady exclaimed, and Lin Chun turned around to look at her. The beautiful woman had bright red hair and carried a sword on her back. She was devastatingly beautiful and had a heroic bearing. Between her brows, there was a coldness that kept people 1,000 miles away. However, when she saw Lin Chun, the coldness disappeared and was replaced by a strange expression. This woman was Jian Qingsheng. You're pretty strong, too. You've already opened 10 Saint cavities. This kind of cultivation speed, I'm afraid that many geniuses can't even catch up to it. When Lin Chun laughed, Jian Qingsheng rolled his eyes, which was a rare sight. Forget it. I was eliminated in the second round. Compared to you, I'm the one who can't even catch up to your shadow. You're in the perfect first Heaven True Saint realm, and you've already broken through to the perfect second Heaven True Saint realm. Do you know how many saints you've angered in the past few days? The two of them chatted and laughed. The mighty swordsmen of the sword domain on the Four Islands were all smiles. Although they were not the ones who had arranged it, they could not wait for the relationship between Jian Qingsheng and Lin Chun to improve. All of a sudden, Lin Chun abruptly turned his head, a faintly discernible chill and a sense of crisis rising in his heart. The devil seal in his palm actually had a weak reaction. There are signs of devil chi in the realm tower. There are so many mighty figures of the human race here. Which devil would dare to sneak in? Among the geniuses on the Central Island's genius ranking, a pale-faced youth grinned evilly as he stared at Huang Xiaolong. Lin Chen narrowed his eyes. He seemed to have seen this person once before. It was in the Sage King's tomb. Brother Lin Shun, Elder Shun has already fulfilled your request. At this time, Baira Oyan transmitted her voice to Lin Shun. He was overjoyed and temporarily withdrew all his guesses. Increasing my strength is more important. Who cares about his background or what he's planning? Lin Shun soared into the air and headed towards the 4 islands on the 3rd floor of the Realm Tower. Following that, Lin Shun met with some of the powerful saints on the 4 islands. He even met a few super saints from the 7th grade aristocratic families. Lin Shun could not see through the cultivation of these saints at all. A conservative estimate was that they were above the 6th heaven true saint realm. They were truly mighty figures who could prop up heaven and earth. Lin Shun used the excuse of meeting with them to steal their attributes. As Lin Chen's strength increased, some saints whose cultivation was lower than Lin Chen's could only steal a limited amount of attribute points. There were too many saints on the 3rd floor of the Realm Tower. Not all of them could use the stealing omen once. Without enough talent points, Lin Shen only chose powerful saints to activate the talent. Time passed. In less than 3 days, Lin Shen's attribute points skyrocketed. However, the bottleneck of the 21 holy points still did not meet the opportunity to break through. Lin Shen's opponent in the 3rd round was even weaker than Xiao Zhoutian. He surrendered as soon as he entered the battle. If he won 3 rounds in a row, he would really stand out and become a candidate for the genius ranking. He would obtain most of the rights and qualifications equivalent to those on the genius ranking and the right to challenge those on the genius ranking. In the palace on the East Island, Baira Oyan was personally guarding Lin Shun. Before cultivating, Lin Shun wanted to consume the technique essence to help Baira Oyan achieve the perfect cultivation method. But the system showed the result of failure. Baira Oyan's Divine Flame Heart Sutra required the sacrifice of various heavenly flames, holy flames, and condensing one's own divine flame. It was different from cultivating ordinary combat skills. It was definitely not a level that could be completed by consuming the technique essence. In the secret chamber, Lin Chun entered a state of cultivation. He sat cross-legged in the void, and the entire secret chamber shone brightly. The energy fluctuations were like the arrival of a mountain and sea prison. 9 balls of brilliance floated in the void. Clouds and rosy clouds were arising, and strange phenomena were appearing. It was like the eye of a hurricane, or endless darkness, or the shining aurora, or the growth of thousands of trees, or the coiling of a dragon in the sea of trees, or the birth of thunder and lightning. These were actually 9 low-grade odd crystals. 1 lightning attribute, 1 fire attribute, 1 wood attribute, 2 wind attributes, 2 darkness attributes, and 2 darkness attributes. Lin Shun had exchanged 7 low-grade odd crystals with the Dragon Clan's almighty being, as well as a Thunder-type odd crystal cultivated from the Thunder Vine. In addition, when Baira Oyan found out that he wanted to refine an odd crystal, she gave him a low-grade Fire-type odd crystal. Rumble. Lin Shen's 20 holy apertures erupted with a terrifying suction force, and the colorful aurora entered Lin Chen's body. If an ordinary sage were to see this scene, their jaws would probably drop. Lin Shun was actually refining 9 odd crystals at the same time. These were odd crystals of different attributes, and there was a risk of the holy aperture exploding in an instant. With the 9 odd crystals in his body, Lin Chun activated Great One Space-Time. 40 hexagonal stars seemed to move, and the Great One Holy Aperture and the Holy Aperture enveloped the 9 odd crystals. They began to merge into the Holy Aperture without any burden. 4 hours later, the system screen popped up. Host has refined 2 low-grade dark odd crystals and gained 160,000 points of advanced dark energy. Host has refined 2 low-grade light odd crystals and gained 150,000 points of advanced light energy. Rumble. Lin Shen's aura skyrocketed, and his strength increased by another level. With a thought, Lin Shen opened the system. Heaven Dao Attribute Pickup System version 7. 0 Host. Lin Shen. Cultivation. 2nd level Sage Realm Perfection. 20 Holy Apertures. Advanced Essence. 516. 6 billion points limit power. 6 billion dragon power. Flesh Shell Awakening plus 100%. Advanced Health. 366. 5 billion points. Advanced Spirit. 499 million points. Middle Saint Realm. Advanced Cultivation Soul Essence. 2. 99 million points. Advanced Rune Energy. 3. 95 million points. Intermediate Heaven Dao. 2. 95 million points. Intermediate Talent Points. 1. 45 million points. Set Essence. 3. 95 million points. Blank Attribute. 0 points. Strengthening Points. 1. 0.2 billion points. Advanced Elemental Energy. 2. 7 million points of Fire. 2. 15 million points of Earth. 1. 99 million points of Wood. 2. 33 million points of Metal. 2. 41 million points of Water. 2. 35 million points of Lightning. 2. 31 million points of Wind. 2. 46 million points of Light. 2. 52 million points of Dark. Set Column. Golden War God Set. Ultimate Right Vambrace. Ultimate Left Greave. Bloodline Status Column. Plus 12 Purple Gold Pupils. Plus 15 Sacred Flame Phoenix. Intermediate Stage 6. Plus 15 Extreme Hell Water Dragon. Intermediate Stage 8. Plus 150,000 Ancient Sky Dragon. Intermediate Stage 8. Plus 13 Yin Yang Creation Dragon. Intermediate Stage 8. Ancient Taishi Dragon Bloodline. 35 points. Ancient Aeon Dragon. 70 points. Cultivation Method Status Column. Open. Life Awakening Column. Open. Active Talent Column. Open. Passive Talent Column. Dual Cultivation Acacia. Assault. Tear. Orange Rank. Super Chaos. Orange Rank. Extreme God Possession Fragment. 3 out of 4. Killing Skill Column. Open. Characteristic Rune Column. Open. Talent Combination Skill. Open. Chapter 1249. Lin Shen's enhancement points and set essence had skyrocketed. After stealing a wave of Saint Stage Powerhouse's attributes, Lin Shen's set essence had reached the highest level in history. 3. 95 million points. System. I want to consume 3 million points of set essence to upgrade the right arm and left leg armor of the Ares set. 3 million points of set essence. Ultimate right arm armor increased to 2%. Ultimate left leg armor increased to 8%. Lin Shen's 2 trump cards have been greatly improved. Lin Shen was looking forward to it. When he first became a saint, he could make the Ares armor unleash tens of billions of dragon power. Now, his saint body's flesh shell and saint power cultivation were many times stronger than when he was in the Sacred Burial Mountain. If he wore the Ares armor, it was unimaginable. This was a power that Lin Shen himself could not imagine. I have more enhancement points, and I'm in short supply now. System. I want to consume all my enhancement points to upgrade all my orange grade techniques equally. Automatic enhancement beginning. Enhancing Dance of the True Dragon. God's Tears. 8-part Celestial Voice of the Burning Dragon. 9-layer Burning Sky Palm. 1 billion enhancement points seemed to be a huge amount, but it paled in comparison to the orange grade techniques. Suddenly, Lin Shen felt a sense of longing in his heart as he continued. System. Enhance the 2 ancient dragon bloodlines. System notification. The ancient Aeon Dragon bloodline and the ancient Taishi Dragon bloodline did not meet the basic requirements for enhancement. Please enhance the bloodline integrity before attempting enhancement. The enhancement failed because the bloodline attributes were too little. Lin Shen wanted to see if he could enhance the bloodline quality with the enhancement function and awakened the two ancient dragon bloodlines. All enhancement points have been consumed. Automatic enhancement ended. Technique status column. Dance of the True Dragon plus 14. 8-part Celestial Voice of the Burning Dragon plus 13. 9-layer Burning Sky Palm plus 12. God's Tears plus 15. The enhancement result was somewhat out of Lin Chen's expectations. God's Tears was enhanced to plus 15. Its power increased again. The one that improved the most was the 8 divisions Celestial Voice of the Burning Dragon. This mental cultivation technique could surprise the enemy and inflict heavy injuries in an instant. In a prolonged battle, it could cause the opponent to fall into a state of mental combustion, which was extremely torturous and painful. Those with weaker mental states would even be shattered by Lin Chen's roar. I really have to thank those sage realm experts who have traveled thousands of miles to let me steal their attribute values for the increase in my strength this time. I'll have to participate in such banquets and other important events in the future. I'll make a lot of money every time I steal the attributes of the 4 interests. Lin Chen's heart was carefree, and he used secret telepathy. The next day, on the central island, Old Chen floated in the air and personally appeared. He spread out a list and read aloud. Currently, there are a total of 154 candidates for the Genius list. In addition, the top 20 who performed the best this time will automatically be promoted to the Genius list after 10 years to fill the current vacancy. The ranking battle will be held then. After you become a candidate, you can issue a challenge to anyone on the Monster Genius ranking. If you win, you will obtain the ranking of the other party. If you lose, your ranking will drop. That's it. If the candidate fails the challenge, you will not be punished. Now, I announced the names of the candidates. Old Chen announced more than 100 names. Among them, the names of Lin Chen and Han Yiji were in the top 20. Even if the two of them did nothing now, they would occupy a place on the Monster Genius list after 10 years. When they heard Old Chen announce the names, the sages on the 4 islands had different expressions. It was very interesting. Those reclusive old monsters who had specially come out of seclusion had a rare look of interest on their faces. Next was the main event. When the new generation surpassed the old, how many people could surpass the old? The candidates for the Monster Genius List battle. The geniuses on the Monster Genius List on the mountain peak looked indifferent and thought highly of themselves. It was as if they did not feel that they were inferior to these newbies at all. The only thing missing was the words, "Bring it on," written all over their faces. Crack! 2 figures stepped in front of the mountains almost at the same time and floated in the air. It was Lin Chen and Han Yiji. Not only the 2 of them, but more than a dozen daring geniuses turned into streams of light and chose their opponents on the Monster Genius list. On the mountain peak, Lin Chen looked straight at Long Yijing and smiled. "Brother Yijing, didn't you have a lot of fun chasing me before? You have to pay for what you did, right?" Long Yijing smiled, and there was a hint of viciousness in his gentle and elegant appearance. "You're here to challenge me? Ha ha, I couldn't ask for more." Seeing Lin Chen and Long Yijing's stance, they immediately attracted the attention of many experts. Long Yijing ranked 9,983 on the Monster Genius list. Interesting, this kid is the main event right from the start. I heard that this kid has some grudges with Long Yijing. Seems like it's true. Long Yijing recently refined a lightning-type odd crystal and comprehended a new realm in his mental cultivation method. His strength is improving by the day. I think it's worth watching. Lin Chen's strength is still unfathomable. Although it's extremely difficult to surpass ranks in the Saint Realm, for this kid, common sense doesn't exist at all. I can't wait for him to challenge some stronger monsters. A few Grand Elders and revered elders of the Grade 7 forces gathered on East Island and looked at Lin Chen and Long Yijing's mountain peak with great interest. However, Lin Chen smiled. He smiled like a child. "Challenge you? No, I'm very honest. I'm not only going to challenge you, but also that idiot over there. Yes, that idiot in white clothes with a sword on his back who was peeping in the direction of a mortal flame palace. I'm going to challenge you too. Lin Shen pointed at Xiao Jing, who was not far away, and his pure laughter stunned all the experts. Xiao Jing's mouth opened slightly. Not only that, but even some of the reclusive old monsters of the Four Islands suspected that they had heard wrongly. Challenging two peerless monsters? Moreover, Lin Shen was not a member of the Demon Genius list. He was just a backup challenging two members of the main team. This had never been done in the history of the backup competition. Ha ha ha. Xiao Jing threw his head back and laughed as if he had heard the funniest thing in the world. He was so angry that he laughed. Lin Shen, who are you looking down on? Do you really think that my strength is only SOSO just because I was held back by Haniji back then? You still want to fight 1 against 2? You're courting death. Lin Shen ignored Xiao Jing and looked at Old Shun, who was in the air. Old Senior Shun, it's not against the rules for me to fight 2 of you, right? Moreover, didn't the rules state that the main team can't reject a backup challenge? I'm the most handsome person in the sacred boundary. It's reasonable for me to fight 2 of you, isn't it? Lin Shen smiled casually, causing everyone to fall over in laughter. In terms of the rules, it's not against the rules. Old Shen's expression was very serious as he said this with a straight face. However, Lin Shen, are you sure? Although there will be special elders who will follow the battle closely and provide immediate protection to the side that surrenders, swords and sabers have no eyes in a battle. It's not absolutely safe for you to be surrounded by 2 monsters. Chapter 1250. That's right. Facing 2 people on the Heavenly Geniuses list at the same level was an extremely terrifying thing. What kind of people were the top geniuses on the Heavenly Geniuses list? They were born at the 6th stage, had great luck, experienced countless hardships, had unparalleled talent, and had endless trump cards. They were the most special group of geniuses in the sacred boundary. Fighting 2 of them one-on-one, it wasn't as simple as 1 + 1 = 2. In a few words, the uniqueness of the Heavenly Geniuses list was summarized. In the sacred boundary, there was no such thing as a 3rd Heaven Sage realm, complete Sage realm. However, the Heavenly Geniuses list could, in the sacred boundary, any Acupoint expansion realm cultivator couldn't exceed the 1st Acupoint expansion realm. However, the Heavenly Geniuses list could. Every person on the Heavenly Geniuses list had heaven-defying strength and foundation. Moreover, Lin Shen wasn't at the same level as them. He was challenging 2 people who were at a higher level. Seeing Old Shun's serious attitude, Lin Shen seemed to wake up from a dream and clapped his hands fiercely. Old Shun is right. I shouldn't be like this. I only ask for fairness, and F***king fairness when I do things. Hearing Lin Shen's words, Han Yiji's little face suddenly puffed up slightly. She thought of something happy and covered her mouth to stifle her laughter. Now I feel that it's very unfair for these 2 people to fight one-on-one, Lin Shen said in a serious and righteous manner. Everyone, wait, who did you learn this fairness from? You, Lin Shen, are fighting 2 people who are at a higher level than you? How is this unfair to the 2 of them? You're crazy. You, Lin Shen pointed in the direction of East Island. His battle-intense sword as he pointed at young Master Qingxiu. Young Master Kidney Deficiency, come up too. I don't like to dawdle. 1 against 2 is too unfair. All 3 of you can come up together. A certain Lin's casual laughter caused the 4 islands to fall into an eerie silence. The silence was so eerie that one could hear a pin drop. Well, if I didn't hear wrong, 1 against 3 is what he meant by fairness? Okay, I want to know if I'm crazy or if Lin Shen is crazy. Senior, what's fairness? Why don't you ask him? Why are you asking me? This is the first time I've seen such fairness. 1 against 2 isn't enough? Mother of asterisk Kerr. He wants to fight 3 people? Crazy. He must be crazy. Many experts were dumbfounded. Fighting 2 of them was already ridiculous, but fighting 3 of them? The most frightening thing was that young Master Qingxiu had become famous earlier than Long Yijing. His strength far surpassed Long, Yijing, and Xiao Jing. He was on a completely different level from the two of them. According to the rules, young Master Qing Su was not allowed to participate in this challenge. The reason he was here was all because of Bai Ruan. The rules would not allow a current monstrous genius to challenge a veteran monstrous genius. West Island, inside the VIP palace. Unless this Lin Shun brat is really crazy and has a death wish, or has some other strange moves, it's impossible for him to win this battle under normal circumstances. No matter how powerful the cultivation technique is, no matter how heaven-defying the moves are, it is impossible for it to be so ridiculously powerful. A giant from a 7th-rank clan said. A beautiful woman in a peach blossom dress from the 7th-rank clan, Crimson Shadow Temple, nodded in agreement. Although she still thought highly of Lin Shun, she still spoke seriously. Mo Qingshu from the Divine Flame Palace. This brat became famous and entered the monstrous genius, ranking more than 2,000 years ago. Now, he has opened 31 Saint Meridians and is at the 4th heaven of the Saint Realm. I heard that this brat expanded his acupoints 18 times in his first attempt. Hearing the two Almighty's words, many young Saint Realm geniuses sucked in a breath of cold air. 18 times, a current monstrous genius. Normally, those on the monstrous genius ranking would only expand their acupoints by 15 to 16 times in their first attempt. Two Almighty. If I remember correctly, the expanded acupoint realm's acupoints are based on the 3rd heaven of the Saint Realm's Saint Meridians, which is equivalent to one with 500 million dragon power points. Young Master Qingshu expanded his acupoints 18 times, which is equivalent to 9 billion dragon power points, right? A green-robed young master boldly asked the beautiful woman in a peach blossom dress. The beautiful woman nodded and said, "Yes, that's right." To put it bluntly, 30 Saint Meridians are equivalent to 8 billion dragon power points plus 9 billion dragon power points after each expansion. Even if Mo Qingshu doesn't use any techniques or battle techniques, his Saint Meridians will be equivalent to 14 to 17 billion dragon power points. The geniuses' mouths twitched. Too monstrous. They had cultivated from the 1st heaven of the Saint Realm to the 3rd heaven of the Saint Realm and opened 30 Saint Meridians, but the amount of Saint Chi they obtained was only equivalent to 8 billion dragon power points. However, when a monstrous genius ranking expanded their acupoints, the amount of Saint Chi they obtained from each Saint Meridians was more than the first 30 Saint Meridians. No wonder the monstrous genius ranking was full of treasures. The sacred boundary clearly forbade people on a monstrous genius ranking from killing or killing people on a monstrous genius ranking. They were indeed worthy of this title. Those who could become saints were all 1 in a billion geniuses in the mortal world. However, an ordinary saint could completely crush a 3rd heaven of the Saint Realm if they expanded their acupoints by 3 to 5 times, let alone 18 times. It was fine if the monstrous genius ranking didn't expand their acupoints, but once they expanded their acupoints, they would be unstoppable. It seemed like Mo Qingshu only had 1 more Saint Meridians. Even if Xiao Jing and the dragon Right Crystal teamed up, they still wouldn't be a match for Mo Qingshu. The only possibility was that one of them had advanced to the 4th heaven of the Saint Realm, the expanded acupoint realm. Facing such a lineup, 1 against 3, this Lin Shun was either crazy or had a hidden trump card. There's only one possibility. Another rank 7 aristocratic family's expert spoke up, and he seemed to be deep in thought. It's this kid who brought out the strength he used to kill a 4th heaven true saint. That's the only possibility. Even if Lin Shun had 30 Saint Meridians, I don't believe that he can challenge the 3 of them, let alone 20 Saint Meridians. The beautiful woman in the peach blossom dress nodded, and a rare trace of excitement appeared in her eyes. On the central island, Mo Qingshu stepped into the air and flew over with a contemptuous sneer on his face. Lin Shun, you want to establish your dominance by fighting 1 against 3? You're living in a dream. He's handsome and has good luck. Who knows, maybe this handsome guy's dream will come true. Lin Shan smiled faintly. He wasn't afraid at all in the face of the three monstrous geniuses. Only old Shun looked deeply at Lin Shan, as though he wanted to see through all his secrets. Do the three of you accept the challenge? According to the rules, Lin Shan didn't break any rules. Old Shun looked at the three monstrous geniuses. The three of them thought that they were extraordinary, and their arrogance was exactly the same. Old Shun formed a seal with his hands, and holy light covered the four islands. He slapped the void with his 5 fingers, and 1,000 zhong long crack appeared in the void. The crack connected to a barren land, and the desert was filled with dust and sand. This is the Great Desert Sky Plain, and it's a battle space that I've collected. I'll personally oversee the battle this time. The rules of the battle are simple. If one party can no longer fight or surrenders, the battle will be stopped. All the old monsters were shocked. Old Shin planned to personally oversee the battle. Old Shin looked at the 4 of them. Xiao Jing from a god-slashing sect was the first to move. With a sword on his back, he flew into the air and turned into a peerless sword light that spanned 3,000 miles. With a flash, he plunged into the crack in the void. Long Yi Jing stepped on a thunderbolt that reached the sky and entered the crack. Mo Qingshu's white robe was majestic, and he looked proud and cold. His body turned into a beam of light and entered the void. Lin Shun leisurely strolled into the great desert sand sky realm step by step. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Hundreds of light screens appeared in the sky above the 4 islands. Everyone was looking forward to the battle, and the geniuses held their breaths. This battle was perhaps going to be a battle that would shake the world. Chapter 12:51. Time returned to 3 days ago. The 5th floor of the Boundary Tower. A secret meeting was taking place in a special secret room where millions of spatial talismans were flickering. 100 people were gathered in the secret room. The leaders of the various Rank 6 forces in the Green region and the Rank 7 clans were gathered here. Every one of them had an aura strong enough to destroy the stars and overturn the universe with a snap of their fingers. They could rule over billions of lives with a single thought. They were all big shots. Originally, they only wanted to quietly observe the competition of their juniors. But today, there was an earth-shattering event that gathered all of them together. This matter involved a lot of things. Moreover, it had already alarmed the upper echelons of the Rank 6 sects and above within the Holy Region's 36 domains. Everyone is here. It seems like everyone is taking this seriously. A handsome man in a green robe supported his chin with his fingers crossed. This person was the first-generation sect master of a Rank 7 giant force, Ing Taotian. As a Rank 7 sect master, it was rare for Ing Taotian to come personally. However, at this moment, his expression was solemn. Ing Taotian said in a serious tone, "This time, we're going to discuss the matter of Ji Ing Bang Bang." He spread out the jade slip in his palm and placed it on the table. Then, he said, "The Dragon Clan has finally produced a heaven-shaking talent." The experts looked at each other. Although they were speechless, the shock in their eyes had already explained everything. The Rank 3 and Rank 4 sects in the Sacred Boundary did not have the qualifications to know about this level of information immediately. However, as Rank 6 forces and Rank 7 giants, their intelligence network could be said to be heavenly. They could immediately receive news from the 36 domains and even the Great Wilderness. Not long ago, they received news that a new king of 10,000 dragons had appeared in the Great Wilderness Myriad Dragons League. If it was in the past, they would at most pay attention to the new king of 10,000 dragons. With the foundation of the human clan, 1 or 2 kings of 10,000 dragons would not be able to shake their foundation. However, this new king of 10,000 dragons was enough to make them extremely alert. According to our latest information, this young dragon's origin is unknown. It is suspected that he is a descendant of the declined immemorial dragon clan. Moreover, he is wearing a silver dragon mask. This is his portrait in human form. Ing Tao Tian pushed out an ink painting, and on it was an intricate drawing of a wild and domineering handsome face. It was strange, evil, and cold. Judging from the painting, this person was definitely an overlord who looked down on the world. All the experts were slightly stunned. This was exactly the same as the information they had received. Ing Tao Tian had even gotten his hands on the portrait. Ing Tao Tian continued, "Our sex people have already sent back news from the Azure Dragon clan. This dragon is participating in the Myriad Dragons Conference under the name of the Azure Dragon King. It is a dragon with multiple bloodlines and is a genuine dragon phoenix. It has the bloodlines of the Great Flame, True Phoenix, the Azure Dragon, and the Winged Dragon." At this point, another middle-aged man with a green jade sword slowly spoke. "This dragon is full of variables. The only variable is that he can perfectly control multiple bloodline transformations. Currently, we know that his Azure Dragon and Winged Dragon bloodlines have been baptized by Draconic Chi and transformed into the descendant bloodlines of the ancient Scarizar Dragon and Extreme Hell Water Divine Dragon." Another white-haired old man said in a trembling voice, "This is not the most terrifying thing. The most terrifying thing is that he has derived new bloodlines. The Yin-Yang Creation Dragon bloodline, 3 dragons, and 1 Phoenix bloodline in 1 body. Furthermore, according to the battle information from the Myriad Dragons Conference, he does not have any battle burden. In other words, having 4 bloodlines is not his limit." A holy light flashed in the beautiful woman's eyes as she spoke with a solemn tone. What if he derives more bloodlines in the future? Or perhaps after the primordial dragon clan focuses on nurturing him, he can continue to transform into an even higher bloodline talent. At that time, a true world-destroying dragon will be born. Although there is still that group of primordial dragon clan and the possibility of this dragon's bloodline surpassing theirs is very small, it does not mean that there is none. Right now, there is only one turning point. That person from the demon-human race has appeared again and forcefully taken this dragon away from the Myriad Dragons Conference. However, he does not seem to have any intention of harming him. The moment the name of the demon-human race was mentioned, the atmosphere became extremely strange. Silence. Ing Tao Tian tapped the table with his fingertips and spoke again after a while. "No matter what, we cannot leave this matter alone. The most important task now is to find him before the Dragon Clan finds him. Even if the demon-human race is involved in this matter, we cannot stand by and do nothing. As long as we find the whereabouts of the king of 10,000 dragons, we can make the decision." 3 days later, East Island. "Goddess, are you really not going to stop Lin Shun? Although his potential is strong, he is the direct disciple of the 17th elder under Qing Su. You should know his strength very well." In the palace, the dim light of the fire extinguished, and a hoarse voice transmitted to Bai Ruoyan. "Granny Yu, let's continue watching." Bai Ruoyan smiled faintly, looking extremely charming. He is never disappointed. In the battle plane, yellow sand was swirling and a sandstorm was raging. Many geniuses even stopped their challenges. No one wanted to miss this battle. Xiao Jing carried a 3-foot-long red sword without a scabbard. He was dressed in a snow-white robe, and his arms were crossed in front of his chest. Holy light shone in his 30 holy acupoints, and a roulette-like sword light was rotating behind him like a crescent moon. The dragon ritual crystal was activated, and he wore a feathered crown and a green robe. He looked gentle and elegant, but there was a hint of hidden murderous aura. Mo Qingshu's face was like jade, and his handsome and carefree aura was extraordinary. He crossed his arms in front of his chest and sneered like a cat playing with a mouse. Boom! Sand swirled in the sky, and the battle power skyrocketed at the same time. The 3 monsters did not intend to join forces and fought separately. Lin Shun, take a good look at the gap between you and the monster list. Go back and cultivate for another 1,000 years before challenging me." Xiao Jing laughed arrogantly and drew his sword. Frost rose in the sky. 8 odd crystals shone brightly, and with a swing of the 3-foot-long green sword, the sword aura spanned 3,000 miles. The coldness suddenly dropped, and snow began to fall in the desert. Xiao Jing's sword came from the west, and snow covered the world. The dragon ritual crystal's 5 fingers crossed, and the power of his 30 holy acupoints skyrocketed. Lightning flashed on his right arm, and thunder burst from his fingertips. He used the Thunder Shadow Killing Claw to crush Lin Shun. Everywhere it passed, the void exploded. Mo Qingshu did not even intend to make a move. He crossed his arms in front of his chest and waited to see how Lin Shun would be defeated. The 3 monsters were not afraid of Lin Shun's trump card from the Holy Burial Mountain Range. They also had their own trump cards. If they did not have a shocking foundation, how could they be called geniuses on the monster list? Lin Shun smiled evilly. I'm afraid you don't know who created the Black Horse Club. Today, the 3 of you can forget about walking out of here in one piece. Just as everyone was waiting to see if he would use the trump card from the Holy Burial Mountain Range. Rip. Boom. The wind and clouds in the desert suddenly changed, and snowflake-like sword light flashed out. The bright moonlight slash, the burning sword light, and the feathered shadow of an arrow light appeared out of nowhere. It was as if they could crush mountains and rivers. Bang, bang, bang. The attack that destroyed Dragon Ritual Crystal and Xiao Jing instantly. Everyone was stunned. Some of the geniuses' eyes trembled in fear. Whoosh, whoosh. Several white dragon shadow flashed and instantly attacked the 3 of them. Dragon Ritual Crystal pulled out the thunder sword at his waist and slashed diagonally across the sky. With a clang, it blocked the flying sword light. The spatial crystal wall cracked, and the straight sword light shot toward the 3 of them. The Tempest Thunder Shadow's arrow light pierced through. Boom! A huge grayish-white talisman exploded in the air. Chi! Another raging flames burning the heavens handprint slammed down from above. In an instant, the 3 monsters were caught in a terrifying attack, and the spectators felt their scalps go numb. Wasn't this a 1 versus 3 fight? Why did it seem like the 3 monsters were surrounded? Chapter 1252. The moment the slowing runes exploded, the 3 monstrous geniuses fell into a whirlpool of attacks. Xiao Jing wielded his red sword and slashed through the layers of sword shadows, breaking through the slowing runes' restraints. His sword light was chilling like snow. Long Yi Jing's sword drew lightning from the 9 heavens. Every sword was like a thunder god descending to the world, sweeping up sand and creating a thunderstorm. It shattered the flaming sword rainbow. Even Mo Qingshu was forced to make a move. He pointed his finger, and beams of holy light flashed like stars, tearing apart the attacks. Both sides exchanged blows, and many mighty figures could vaguely see more figures. Bang! A destructive storm exploded, and both sides retreated to one side. Standing still, the 3 looked around, and their expressions changed slightly. The scene in front of them was extremely shocking. A total of 7 Lin Shun were either wielding swords, spears, bows, or hand seals, ready to launch a fierce attack at any time. The strength of these 7 Lin Chuns were all equally strong. At most, they used different types of combat skills, but the essence was exactly the same. It was hard to tell the real from the fake. Interesting, this is what you have to be so arrogant. Mo Qingshu frowned, and his tone was frivolous, but his expression was no longer contemptuous. My ability? This is just the beginning. Young master with kidney deficiency from Divine Flame Palace. You see the mountain, but not the sea. I will start with you and let everyone in Divine Flame Palace know who Bai Ruoyan is. Lin Shun was no longer as frivolous as before. His brows were filled with arrogance, intimidating everyone. After the battle at the 10,000 Dragons Conference, Lin Shun had killed countless enemies and had the aura of the king of 10,000 dragons. A frog at the bottom of a well. How can you be worthy of the sacred lady? Today, I will destroy you. Mo Qingshu pulled out a crimson-red trident and stabbed repeatedly. The 12 odd crystals in his body shone like stars, and the crimson-red odd crystal in the middle shone like a sun. A few sharp-eyed experts were shocked. The Divine Flame Palace was truly generous. Mo Qingshu actually refined a mid-grade odd crystal. Then, Lin Shun and all his clones trembled. His original body and all his clones emitted the brilliance of 17 polar stars. The corners of the spectating experts' mouths twitched. 17 low-grade, odd crystals. Are you still human? Metal, wood, water, fire, earth, wind, lightning, light, darkness, all 9 elements. The number of odd crystals was almost catching up to the number of holy points he had. How did he refine so many odd crystals of different attributes without exploding his acupoints? Even geniuses on the monster list would only be able to control less than 10 odd crystals before reaching the Expanse Aperture Realm. Extinguishing Halberd. Fire 1,000 blades. Mo Qingshu's attack was earth-shattering. The crimson trident pierced through the sky like flowing blades, tearing through space and stabbing toward Lin Shun, covering the entire sky. True Dragon Dance. Reverse. Lin Shen's entire body erupted with pure strength. His hands danced with the Dark Phoenix Spear, and the spear shadows transformed into dragons. Layers upon layers of dragons danced in the air, covering the heavens and covering the earth. In the blink of an eye, the entire world was covered. Clang, clang, clang. Every shadow of the spear was divided into 5, intertwining with the flaming blades of the trident. Sparks were flying everywhere, and the sky was dyed red by the explosion. Xiao Jing and Long Yijing did not stop. While Lin Shun and Mo Qingshu were fighting, the two of them used their body movement techniques and charged forward. Lin Shen's doppelgangers instantly took action. Heaven Dao, Thunder. With a single thought, Lin Shen activated his only top-tier blue-rank sure-kill skill, Heavenly Thunder. Chi. Boom. Heaven Dao, Thunder exploded in the sky. Tens of thousands of feet of purple lightning clouds exploded in the sky, erupting with earth-shattering power that enveloped the 3 monsters. Long Yijing's expression changed as she felt déjà vu. Boom, boom, boom. Within their respective thunderclouds, 3 bolts of purple lightning that carried an intense aura of destruction swept over like pythons and struck towards the 3 monster incarnates out of thin air. The power of the purple lightning was enough to shake a 4th heaven true saint. Be careful, this is the kind of strange attack that he can't dodge. Long Yijing patted the lightning mirror on his waist. The mirror instantly expanded to 1,000 feet in size and revolved around Long Yijing like a windmill. With a whoosh, the lightning mirror blocked the Heaven Dao Thunder. 8 dragon shadows appeared in front of Xiao Jing's chest. Each of them was protected by 10,000 swords. The dragon shadow protected Xiao Jing and dissipated when the Heaven Dao Thunder struck. Only Mo Qingshu's palm tore the purple lightning apart. With the protection of the swords and the lightning mirror, Xiao Jing was protected. Lin Shen's top-tier blue-rank sure-kill skill was completely blocked. Moreover, the 2 monsters' movements were not affected at all. They charged towards Lin Shen freely and engaged in a fierce battle with his doppelganger. It was as if the 2 life-saving treasures on their bodies had a mind of their own to protect them. With Lin Shen's current strength, if his doppelganger went all out in a one-on-one battle, his doppelganger would still be inferior to his opponents. However, if it was 2 doppelganger against 1 monster, they would definitely be able to suppress them. It's the Divine Flame Palace's 8 treasures sword dragon case and Great Lightning protective mirror. Some experts exclaimed, "This is too scary." This kid forced them to use their life-saving treasures the moment he appeared. To be able to force the 2 monsters to use their life-saving treasures, in a way, Lin Shun had already won. This was because it was a 1-on-2 battle. The key is still Mo Qingshu. If we don't take him down, We will never have a chance to win this battle. Rumble. Lin Shun and his doppelganger rushed forward again. Lin Shun fought Mo Qingsu in a 2-versus-1 manner, attacking from both sides. The three of them fought fiercely. A saber, a spear, and a halberd. The halberd slashed, the spear flicked, the saber swung, and the halberd pierced. 3 afterimages appeared in the void, and the halberd and spear collided countless times. The heavenly Tao's shocking thunder was like a shadow, and it continuously struck out streaks of destructive lightning. Mo Qingshu had no choice but to use his wind god to deal with the bombardment of his sure-kill skills. He was slightly distracted in the battle. This scene was a little shocking. Lin Shun actually blocked Mo Qingshu's attacks head-on. Lin Shun, a second Heaven True Saint Realm Peak Stage genius, was fighting against a 4th Heaven True Saint Realm expert, Mo Qingshu. Were they actually evenly matched? A second Heaven True Saint fighting a 4th Heaven True Saint? This was a 4th Heaven True Saint on the Demon Genius list. At the very least, no one had ever heard of such a thing in the rank 6 aristocratic families. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that this was the most terrifying battle in history. Lin Shen's various mysterious techniques and his orange-grade halberd technique made Mo Qingshu's expression even more serious. His previous attack was a low-grade orange-grade halberd technique, but it was perfectly blocked by this kid, although there was a hint of pure strength. What kind of cultivation was Mo Qingshu? Mo Qingshu's cultivation couldn't be compared to his, and his spear technique was even stronger than his. Lin Shen's cultivation was very different from Mo Qingshu's, but Mo Qingshu had 6 billion dragon power points, 17 low-grade odd crystals, double the number of holy points, and a highly strengthened orange-grade technique. Even though he couldn't suppress Mo Qingshu with his doppelganger and instant light doppelganger, it wasn't a problem to block his attacks. Bang! 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 Lin Shun and his doppelgangers turned into streams of light and fought with Mo Qingshu from the sky to the desert, and then from the bottom of the desert to the sky. Everywhere they went, the sky and earth were turned upside down, and the desert was disintegrated and collapsed. Xiao Jing and Long Yijing showed signs of being at a disadvantage for the first time under the attacks of Lin Chen's other 5 doppelganger. The genius's mouths trembled. It was really 1 against 3. Without a doubt, Lin Chen's strength had already surpassed the average genius on the Demon Genius list. However, after a few hundred rounds, Mo Qingshu seemed to have figured out Lin Chen's strength. He smiled coldly. Lin Shun, that's it. Chapter 1253. Mo Qingshu sneered. That's it? Lin Shun, when this cloud disappears, it'll be easy for me to suppress you. Lin Shun grinned. Is that so? Super Chaos. Snap. Lin Shun snapped his fingers, and the 3 monsters' Saint Acupoints started to tremble. Activated the Super Chaos talent that has been triggered 6 times. The enemy has entered a state of chaos. Duration, 60 seconds. What the hell? My Saint Acupoint closed on its own. Long Yijing and Xiao Jing were shocked at the same time. The doppelganger's attacks surged. The Absolute Shadow Flying Dagger, Sky Fury Sword, Feather of Lucky Light, and Annihilation were used one after another. The 2 monsters were the first to fall into a disadvantage. Mo Qingshu stood still. As a 4th-level sage, he could stabilize the situation even if he entered a state of super chaos. You're only SOSO. Today, I'll show you the power of my divine flame palace. Mo Qingshu shook his hands, and 2 fire dragons flew out from his palms. This palm was supported by all the power of the fire-type odd crystal and the extreme heat holy chi. Young Master Qingshu even used the blood sacrifice flame dragon. In the East Island Palace, a beautiful maid was secretly shocked. This was one of the strongest orange killer moves of the Divine Flame Palace. Dragon the Fire Dragon stirred up the wind and clouds. The dragon soared into the sky and crashed into the thunderclouds, breaking through the thunder. A dragon attacked Lin Shun. Dragon flames billowed and burned across the land. The yellow sand of the desert was ignited and burned. The entire great desert existential plain was instantly turned into scalding yellow sand, burning with flames. Edge of the true dragon. Lin Shun waved the phoenix spear, and the metal-type holy chi was pushed to the extreme. The tip of the spear emitted a golden glow, and with a stab, the golden glow transformed into a dragon's teeth. It split into 5 and collided with Mo Qingshu. Chi! Bang! The blade pierced through the fire dragon, and the burning sand exploded into a flaming tornado. Lin Shun was forced to retreat a few hundred steps, and blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. Fire could suppress metal, and his dance of a true dragon was completely restrained by his opponent. Rumble. Mo Qingshu still had the energy to spare. He stepped on the fire dragon and charged towards Lin Shun with an extraordinary aura. It was as if he wanted to capture and suppress Lin Shun directly. The corners of Lin Chin's bloody mouth curled up slightly. You've been tricked, little brother. At this distance, I'll let you know what it means to spin around in circles. All of a sudden, Mo Qingshu felt a sense of danger. The avatar that was in the heavenly invisibility rune state suddenly drew his saber. Clang! The blade's momentum was about to split open the sky of the desert and slash open the space. Uft! Rip! In the midst of the extreme sonic boom, 5 madly rotating aurora saber radiants twisted towards Mo Qingshu. The saber radiance was like a long rainbow, dazzling and dazzling, as if the Milky Way was overturning, slashing towards Mo Qingshu. What a fast blade! Mo Qingshu had nowhere to retreat to. He stomped his feet and waved the fire dragon as if it was his arm. He turned around and spat out a dragon breath to block the 5 aurora blade chi. Bang, bang, bang. When Mo Qingshu's pupils trembled, the 5 aurora blade chi exploded within 100 miles of him. The power of the saber radiance skyrocketed and exploded into countless fragments of saber chi. Hundreds of thousands of fragments of saber chi were like broken jade. Like the eye of the storm, they instantly engulfed Mo Qingshu with the momentum of a storm. Bang, 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 bang. The fragments of saber chi poured down like a flood. Like a space storm in the universe, it instantly twisted Mo Qingshu. The fragments of saber chi continued to attack Mo Qingshu's blood sacrifice flaming dragon. What was more terrifying was that the fragments of saber chi were mixed with the sharpness of the dragon power and the impact of the fragments of spirit. It was impossible for Mo Qingshu to defend himself. He could defend himself against the destructive power of the saber chi and pure power, but he could not defend himself against the terrifying fragments of spirit saber chi. With an explosion, Mo Qingshu's blood sacrifice flaming dragon was smashed into pieces. Hiss! This saber strike caused the expressions of countless veteran saber saints to change. It was too demonic. This strike directly attacked the holy body, spirit, and holy chi cultivation. Once the saber chi was shattered, it was impossible to defend against it. The power, timing, and use of the saber technique were almost perfect. Crack! The defense of holy chi was broken. Mo Qingshu was twisted by more than 10 fragments of saber chi from the dragon power. For the first time since the start of the battle, there were wounds on his arms and chest. God's Tears was already at plus 15. In addition to Lin Chen's spiritual power, physical strength, and holy power cultivation, there was a qualitative change in all aspects. This slash was practically Lin Chen's strongest AoE attack at the current stage. In terms of surprise attacks, it was also one of the best. Boom, boom, the space rumbled. Mo Qingshu stepped on fire lotuses and traveled thousands of miles in an instant. He forcefully broke through the aftermath of God's Tear. All the geniuses were shocked. This was an orange level body movement technique. The foundation of the Divine Flame Palace was indeed abnormal. Before the first wave subsided, another wave rose. A huge crack appeared in the sky, and a giant flaming palm covered the entire area. It was surrounded by 4 layers of fire seals, and it swept up scorching waves. It aimed at Lin Chen's head and slammed down furiously. All the fire elemental geniuses present felt ashamed of their inferiority. This strike could burn the 9 heavens and 10 earths. It was another secret technique of the Divine Flame Palace, the 9 layers burning sky palm. This was the 4 layers burning sky palm, and it was executed by Mo Qingshu with the power of 14 fire elemental odd crystals. If an ordinary mid-4th heaven true saint were to face this attack head-on, they would most likely die on the spot. Mo Qingshu was indeed a demonic genius. When he broke through the encirclement, he had already prepared a second secret technique. Slow rune. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Another round of slow runes fell from the sky. This time, Lin Chen directly used 300,000 points of rune energy to seal demons and suppress ghosts. The space within 1,000 miles froze, and the power of the giant flaming palm was reduced by a few degrees. You're not the only one who knows how to do this. Lin Chen laughed loudly, and his battle-intent soared. The power of the fire elemental odd crystals was activated, and the 5 layers burning sky palm ignited on his left hand. The destructive aura of burning the heavens and earth surged as he slammed his palm towards the sky. Rumble. Another section of the burning sky palm appeared. In terms of power, Mo Qingshu's holy power was 10 times more vigorous. Buzz. Lin Chen's 5 layers burning sky palm split into 5. If the quality wasn't enough, then he would use quantity to fight. Boom, boom. A flaming tornado of tens of thousands of feet exploded in the desert and continued to spread. Lin Chen's burning sky palm was broken through. Lin Chen's 5 layers burning sky palm had a high level of attainment, and it was strengthened to +12 with the enhancement of instant light split shadows. However, the former had 11 fire elemental odd crystals. Mo Qingshu's giant flaming palm broke through the attack and continued to suppress Lin Chen. Heavenly voice of the burning dragon. A dragon's roar shook the 9 heavens, and 4 burning dragons coiled above Lin Chen's avatar. The burning dragons let out a dragon's roar, and the sound waves seemed to be substantial. It pierced through the giant flaming palm and actually shattered Mo Qingshu's burning sky palm. Boom, boom, boom. The giant flaming palm shattered and exploded. Lin Chen and his avatar took turns to fight, and each of their highly strengthened orange-gray techniques was a tough fight. The dragon's roar entered his mind, and Mo Qingshu retreated with a pale face. A scalding, burning sensation came from within his spiritual sea. His spiritual sea was actually burning. This kid's techniques were getting weirder and weirder with each move. This incomparable battle caused the scalps of the spectators to tingle with numbness. The ultimate orange-grade techniques of the outside world that have been passed down for thousands of years were as easy to get in the hands of these few people. Every move was at the peak of perfection, and it was perversely strong. Chapter 1254. Extreme Enlightening Devour. The brilliance of the 8 Thunder-type odd crystals in the Dragon Ritual Crystal Sword, and the sword slashed out in all directions. Wherever the lightning passed, there was a sinister aura that absorbed the space, and the sword slashed down dozens of flying daggers and giant palms in the void. Snow in the world, mountains and rivers. The 10,000-foot phantom behind Xiao Jing pulled out his sword. The 8-treasure sword dragon case protected him from the killing move. He pulled out his sword, and sword aura swept out. Boom! Xiao Jing shattered the attacks of Lin Chen's 2 clones. Just as he was about to attack again, a burning dragon condensed from spiritual power appeared behind him and roared. Roar! The dragon's roar split into 5, and it was like a 5-layered sound wave storm. Xiao Jing and Long Yijing were forced to retreat. Their faces were pale, and their spirits were burning. Damn it, why can't I heal the intense, burning sensation of my mind? Xiao Jing and Long Yijing looked at each other and saw the shock in each other's eyes. At this moment, the thunder clouds dissipated, and Lin Chen's top-notch blue stare, killing move started to dissipate. The two of them used their life-saving trump cards to resist the killing move. They even blocked the attacks of 5 Lin Chens. The foundation of a monster genius ranking was completely revealed. However, they also paid a sufficient price. Their external, internal, and spiritual injuries were accumulating. More importantly, some of their injuries were actually incurable. They could only let their injuries worsen. The two of them didn't bother with the top-notch blue stare killing move and were about to destroy Lin Chen's 5 clones in one go. Boom! 10 blazing suns rose in the desert plain, emitting heat and destructive aura. Even the two monsters' expressions became serious, and they even revealed a hint of fear. Long Yijing's expression was uncertain. She could no longer maintain her usual elegant demeanor and gritted her teeth in indignation. Lin Chen actually forced Mo Qingxiu to this extent. This move's power is probably a peerless battle technique paired with a mental cultivation technique. The foundation of the Divine Flame Palace is indeed far superior to other sects. Even the arrogant Xiao Jing was the same. He was born in the Jew God sect and had stood out from the rest to become the peak of countless monstrous geniuses. He was listed on the Demon Genius list. However, at this moment, both he and Long Yijing felt defeated, because even if the two of them advanced to the Acupoint expansion realm, unless they encountered a heaven-defying encounter that shocked the ancient times, their cultivation would at most be between Mo Qingxiu's. If Lin Chen could force Mo Qingxiu, who was at the expanded point stage, to use all his trump cards, then they wouldn't be any better. The only exception would be if he could open the second Saint Aperture of the expanded Aperture realm. However, to open such a high number of Saint Apertures, one would need to accumulate even more Saint Aperture. It would not be that easy to open it. In other words, they could no longer suppress Lin Chen. At least in terms of combat strength, Lin Chen had truly surpassed them. Even if they reached the Aperture Augmenting Realm, they would not be able to change this result. This was a huge blow to the two prideful geniuses. Boom! Arrows flashed, and Lin Chen's clones attacked again. The two of them fought with all their might and directly faced the 5 clones of Lin Chen. On the other side, Mo Qingxiu was inside the 10 suns. The sea of fire was like a long robe on his body, and his holy aura was overflowing. He was like a high and mighty sage looking down on all living beings. He had the majesty of dominating billions of living beings. When he looked at Lin Chen, he waved his fingertips. His Acupoint expansion realm's holy points were as deep as the sea, but at this moment, they seemed to have been completely drained. He injected all the fire element odd crystals into the 10 holy suns. Chi, chi, chi. The entire plain began to burn with endless flames. The desert was filled with raging flames, and the yellow sand melted rapidly. Tens of thousands of flames rose and died, and everything within 100,000 miles was burned into nothingness. Oh no, Lin Chen is going to lose. Where's old Shun? If he doesn't save him, our human race will lose a peerless genius. To be able to reach this stage, Lin Chen is already heaven-defying. There's no need to continue fighting. Yes, Lin Chen only lacks time and experience. He will definitely surpass Mo Qingxiu in the future. The age gap between the two can't be compared at all. Inform a few healing-type sages to immediately save Lin Chen if something is wrong. Inside the Boundary Tower, many sages of the Boundary Tower moved. They were on high alert and had solemn gazes. In a battle between sages, unless it was a battle of life and death, they rarely used their full strength. Unlike the War Emperor, although sages had the ability to destroy heaven and earth, replenishing the depleted holy points required a lot of resources and time. However, Mo Qingxiu's move was extremely powerful. It almost used up 80% of his holy power. Using all the energy from the odd crystals, his mental cultivation technique, orange grade technique, and his own bloodline, he used this move with his acupoint expansion realm cultivation. Ordinary true saints wouldn't be able to survive this attack unless they had a fourth heaven true saint realm foundation or had a special trump card that countered it. Not to mention the geniuses who passed the preliminaries. Even the perfected third heaven true saint realm monstrous geniuses who were forced to be present had a solemn expression. They knew that even if they advanced to the acupoint expansion realm, they might not be Mo Qingshu's match. The Divine Flame Palace's foundation was too terrifying. Sacred Lady, this, a hoarse voice transmitted by Royan, who was in the East Island Palace, was indifferent. Her beautiful eyes were fixed on the light screen. Everyone, including the Almighty from the 7th rank aristocratic family, thought that Old Shun would make a move, but he stood there without moving. Old Shun's gaze was deep. His palm trembled slightly, and then there was no more movement. Mo Qingshu's face was slightly pale. He bit the tip of his tongue and spat out a mouthful of blood into the 10 suns. With my blood, I offer the power of my ancestors' holy sun. 10 sun absolute flames, listen to my command. Mo Qingshu pushed in the air, and the 10 blazing suns slammed into Lin Shun. Rumble. The 10 suns spread out in a fan shape, sinking into the plane and burning billions of stars. Very powerful. Even Ji Xiaochuan from the 10,000 Dragons Conference might not be his match. Lin Shen's lips curled up slightly. The 9-colored starlight in his palm suddenly overflowed like a roulette. 17 low-grade, odd crystals flashed like stars. Lin Shen's great 1 saint point and main body saint point surged with endless 9-color divine light. The 9-color divine light flowed into his palm. Lin Shun poured all of his sacred power into the 9-colored starlight. He swung his palm. Post-activated instant light, split shadow. Annihilation, split creation talent. Consumed 100,000 talent points. Rumble. Light streaked across the sky like a 9-colored meteor falling from the sky. The 9-colored meteor split into 5 and shook the 10 holy suns. Chi. Boom. Boom. The 9-colored meteor collided with the holy suns and spun into a 9-colored light pillar that shot into the sky. Under the spinning 9-color divine light, there was an energy fluctuation that could destroy the world. Every rotation of the light pillar was like refining the stars, absorbing and annihilating the energy of the holy suns. Boom, boom, boom. The 10 holy suns exploded crazily. The residual energy was absorbed and swallowed by the 9-colored light pillar and annihilated into nothingness. The plane shook, and billions of tons of yellow sand were annihilated by the 2 destructive energies. The battle between the 2 monstrous geniuses was affected and was forced to stop. They kept retreating to the other side of the plane. If it wasn't for Old Shun opening the space plane himself, just this wave of attack was enough to destroy the battle plane prepared for the monstrous geniuses list into nothingness. This Lin Shun can actually use such an absolute art. The 2 monstrous geniuses were stunned and their hearts trembled. What was this kid's cultivation? He wasn't even at 3rd heaven sage realm. If he advanced to 4th heaven sage realm and expanded his acupoints, wouldn't he overturn the monstrous geniuses list? Everyone held their breaths and looked forward to the result of this battle. Only a few experts exclaimed in their hearts, "It's actually a draw." Chapter 1255. In Taotian, the beautiful woman in the peach blossom dress and the other powerful beings from the rank 7 families all stood up. They didn't look at the light screen. Instead, they stared at a certain spot in the void, as if they had personally seen the battle in the great desert plain. "It's actually a draw?" In Taotian, and the beautiful woman in the peach blossom dress exclaimed at the first moment. This result was beyond their expectations. That's right, Lin Chen's performance was beyond their expectations. They didn't expect Lin Shun to be able to take on the full force attack of this Expanse realm monster with only 20 saint points. This was outrageous to the extreme. Taking on the strongest attack of an Expanse realm expert who was 2 levels above him, this kid's trump card was so strong that it defied all common sense. The power of Lin Chen's 9 Tribulation Stars was dependent on Lin Chen's overall strength. After the battle at the 10,000 Dragons Conference, his elemental energy and odd crystals had skyrocketed, and his cultivation was far stronger than before. He had opened 20 sacred points, and with the double stacking of the Great One sacred point, the power of his 9 Calamity stars skyrocketed. With the Greater One Saint point, Lin Shun could adjust the power of the 9 Tribulation Stars. If it was a normal 9 Tribulation Stars, Lin Shun could use the Greater One Saint point effect to use it 4 times in a short period of time. But not this time. This attack against Mo Qingshu's 9 Tribulation Stars was Lin Chen's full strength. He mobilized all the Saint points in his body and the Greater One Saint point and poured the 9 Tribulation Stars, which could be used 4 times in a day, into this attack. It was his strongest attack at this stage. Bang! Bang! After 2 explosions, Lin Shun and Mo Qingshu both retreated. They suffered different degrees of backlash. Lin Shun had blood flowing from the corner of his mouth, while Mo Qingshu spat out an attribute light ball. His injuries were both severe and minor. Rumble. After the 10 Saint Suns were destroyed by the 9 Tribulation Star, they shot towards Lin Shun, filling the sky with their radiance. The temperature of each radiance was extremely high, and it could easily burn through a 3rd Heaven True Saint's holy energy. Old Shun, it's time to make a move. Ing Taotian shouted coldly. The 2 of them were currently doing their best to rest. The second wave of attack might directly threaten Lin Chen's life. However, Old Shin remained as still as a mountain. His aged eyes glowed with unprecedented brilliance as he stared at Lin Chen's back. Boom! The saber whistled as Lin Chen's doppelganger appeared beside the main body like a timely rain. Azure Bright Moon slashed out with a saber, and another god's tear slashed out 5 aurora saber slashes. The saber light spun and flashed. When it exploded in the void, it twisted and turned into fragments of saber chi that filled the sky. Bang! 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 The shards of blade, chi, and the afterglow of the holy sun continued to collide. It was as if 2 apocalyptic storms were colliding, madly canceling each other out. It took a while for the 9-colored light pillar and the Saint Sun energy storm to dissipate. Everyone could clearly see the figure in the void. Lin Chen's mouth was bleeding, but his domineering and arrogant smile had not dissipated. Mo Qingshu's body was covered in wounds. Although the holy light was still protecting his body, it was covered in wounds. What puzzled the spectating experts was why he did not use his holy power to heal his wounds. Whoosh! Whoosh! 2 figures descended and surrounded Lin Shun and the last doppelganger. It was Xiao Jing and Long Yijing. Previously, when Lin Shun used the 9 Tribulation Star, he had used 5 doppelgangers to block the afterglow of the collision. His cultivation was not as high as Mo Qingshu's, and he could not block such a terrifying explosion of energy at such a close distance with his main body strength alone. When the doppelgangers died, the battle power to stop the 2 monsters disappeared. It's a draw. No, most of his doppelgangers have disappeared. That unavoidable, thunderous attack has also disappeared. He will be the next one to lose. Lose my ass. Lin Shun can fight with 3 monsters on the demon ranking by himself until now. I think he has won the most thoroughly. Think about it. How old is he? What cultivation does he have? If he expands his acupoints, he will probably be on the demon ranking. Yu Tinga, wish that Lin Shun is the strongest. The geniuses and even the monsters on the demon ranking started to discuss fervently. Mo Qingshu was covered in blood. He endured the pain from his injuries and stood proudly in front of Lin Shun. His aura was still strong as he laughed sinisterly. How can you compare to the power of the Divine Flame Palace? Lin Shun, even if I am injured, It is easy for me to defeat you with one hand. Can you still use that attack again? Facing the encirclement of 3 monsters. Ha ha. At this moment, Lin Chen laughed wildly. The geniuses were stunned. He could still laugh at this moment. Awesome. I didn't expect my main body strength to reach this level. Although he had emptied his Saint Meridian, Lin Chen felt wonderful and carefree. Before entering the great wilderness, he had to use all his strength to deal with Long Yijing. Other than the Ares Vambrace, he had to use all his trump cards. In addition, he had to use his doppelgangers to delay a monster on the demon ranking. But now, ordinary Fourth Heaven True Saints were no match for him. Ordinary monsters who weren't in the expanded cavern realm couldn't withstand Lin Chen's attacks. Even if the monsters below the expanded cavern realm joined forces, he could take on 3 of them at once. The difference between before and after had increased by at least 10 times. Rumble. Long Yijing and Xiao Jing attacked Lin Chen from behind with their swords. Even if I use a huge amount of runes to create more doppelgangers, I might not be able to take them down. Forget it. I'll use my other trump card. Lin Chen smiled sinisterly and snapped his fingers. Rip. A wisp of azure dragon light streaked across the sky like a sword, slashing down explosively, blasting away the 2 of them with a single slash. It even sent the 2 monster incarnates retreating tens of thousands of feet with a look of shock. What? What's that? Lin Chen, are you trying to trick us? A man appeared behind Lin Chen. His long hair draped over his shoulders. His eyes were like precious gems, and his face was like a pile of snow. His facial features were prominent, and his nose bridge was high. His brows were cold, and his hands were behind his back. The smile on his face was exactly the same as Lin Chen's. Everyone was stunned. This isn't Lin Chen's doppelganger. Why did you call for help? What was more terrifying was that the aura exuding from this person was pure and fierce. His gaze was like the roar of a holy dragon. Just by standing there, he was like an insurmountable mountain. Only Ying Taotian, the beautiful woman in the peach blossom dress, and the elders of the rank 6 sects were stunned when they saw the man's appearance and temperament. A chill that made their scalps numb rose from the bottom of their feet and rushed to the top of their heads. Sect Master, what are you doing? The beautiful girl in green, sitting beside Ying Taotian, couldn't help but ask in surprise. She had never seen the sect master reveal such an expression. Old Shun, he's obviously breaking the rules, right? When a monster on the monster rankings sent a voice transmission to Old Shun, some experts realized that a reclusive giant like Old Shun was actually shocked for the first time. He was even stunned on the spot. Half a breath later, Old Shun returned to normal. His gaze was like a sword as he stared at Lin Chen's back view. This young man had too many secrets. So many that he couldn't help but want to get to the bottom of it. It can't be wrong. This appearance, this temperament, this aura, this is the new king who shocked the ancient and dazzled the world. The king of 10,000 dragons, Ying Bang Bang. Waves of shock surged in Ying Taotian's heart. The king of 10,000 dragons, who appeared out of nowhere and defeated countless dragon prodigies, was actually beside Lin Chen. This information caused this ancient sect master to be dumbfounded. Chapter 1256. Old Shen regained his senses and calmed the situation down. He announced loudly and sent a voice transmission to the battlefield. Lin Chen didn't break the rules. This dragon's life force is the same as Lin Chen's. It should be a part of his life force. Since it's his own strength, he didn't break the rules. When Old Shen sent the voice transmission to the 4 islands, the experts were in an uproar. This brat was still hiding such a trump card? However, there were many powerhouses who immediately felt relieved. That's right, they had heard about Lin Chen. He really did have a dragon with him. This holy dragon had even stayed by his side when he had become a martial saint. However, Lin Chen's performance and achievements in the Sacred Burial Mountain range had been too dazzling. This tiny holy dragon had almost been completely overshadowed. However, they had never expected this dragon to improve by leaps and bounds. Judging from its aura, it seemed to be even stronger than the average third heaven true Saint Realm expert. However, the experts from the 6th and 7th rank sects were the most shocked. They had just received the latest news about the dragon a few days ago. How many days had it been? The king of 10,000 dragons, who had turned the 10,000 Dragons League upside down, had actually appeared in the human race's competition in such a manner. This was 2F** King ridiculous. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, who would have believed it? This old man still doesn't dare to believe it. This is too fake. Could we have seen wrongly? Maybe this king of 10,000 dragons, Ing Bang Bang, has a twin brother. That's right. Ing Bang Bang is a dragon of unknown origin. We can't jump to conclusions rashly. Let's take a closer look. We can't be careless. Some experts suppress the shock in their hearts and continue to observe. Great Desert Realm. When the three monstrous geniuses heard Old Shun's voice transmission, they couldn't help but be stunned. Was this a dragon that Lin Shun had reared? So what if it's a dragon? Can it turn the tide? This young master will destroy it with one palm. As Mo Qingshu sneered, the fire seal in his palm rotated rapidly. The Saint Power burned the sky, and the burning sky palm attacked Lin Shun again. The moment Lin Shun made Ing Bang Bang appear, the energy of the dragon veins was like a vast sea. Every dragon vein was like a river flowing in a river, moving a galaxy, and instantly erupted. The host has activated the instant light split shadows and annihilation split creation talents, consuming 320,000 talent points. The divine dragon struck out with his palm, and the high temperature of the entire grand desert existential plane instantly plummeted. Boom, boom, boom. 10,000 li of raging waves. The raging sea swept across. 5 hellish heavenly prisons constructed entirely from water-type energy enveloped the entire plane. Water strikes thousands of miles away, sweeping away thousands of mountains and absorbing the stars into a vast ocean. A flood dragon leaped out of the sea and smashed into the shocking, heaven-burning palm. What? The three geniuses lost their voices in shock. Ing Bang Bang clenched his fists, and thousands of blue dragon claws leaped out of the ocean's surface, imprisoning the three of them. Wong, Wong, Wong. Xiao Jing's 8 treasures sword dragon case and Long Yi Jing's thunder mirror suddenly became more powerful. Holy light shone high, protecting their owners. However, the energy of the extreme prison heavenly prisons seemed to be limitless. Apart from the thousands of dragon claws, there were also water-type energy, sharp blades, spears, and even chains that shot out, imprisoning and stabbing the three of them. No matter how many trump cards the three of them had, no matter what kind of attack they launched, the energy of the dragon breath imprisoning them was like soft water. After being shattered, it would instantly reform again. Within the 5 extreme prison heavenly prisons, the energy was limitless, as if there was no end to it. The extreme prison heavenly prisons seemed to have become Lin Chen's home ground. Lin Chen didn't let go of this opportunity. He clenched his fists, and 2 of the 5 extreme prison heavenly prisons blocked all the attacks of the 3 geniuses. The 3 prisons kept shrinking and contracting, gradually shrinking. At first, the 3 geniuses' bones, flesh, and holy power were all compressed into a bloody mess. Rumble. The slowing rune fell from the sky. It focused on sealing the consciousness of the 3 geniuses, not giving them a chance to speak. Old Shun's eyes trembled. Ing Tao Tian and the other grand cultivators also felt their scalps tingle. It couldn't be wrong. This bloodline divine power was exactly the same. It was exactly the same as the intelligence report. The king of 10,000 dragons, who shone at the 10,000 Dragons Conference, had also used this move to defeat the Dragon Crown Prince, who was comparable to the genius role. Crack, 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 crack. Mo Qingshu's bones cracked under the pressure, and a rare trace of fear appeared in his heart. This guy was serious. He was really going to kill them. He was indeed fearless. He was someone on the genius roll, and this Lin Shun didn't even give them a chance to surrender. He was really going to kill them. Lin Shin's holy dragon had defeated Yong'an, and he only had 12 billion dragon power points. In terms of cultivation, he was much weaker than Mo Qingshu. However, his extreme heavenly prison was a transcendent divine power. It was a human mid-orange grade technique, and with the enhancement of his bloodline, it was more than 4 times stronger. It was also enhanced by instant light split shadows, which allowed him to split into 5 extreme heavenly prisons. Water countered fire, and he was completely suppressed. Even 2 Mo Qingshu couldn't escape, let alone 1. To put it bluntly, the 3 of them were doomed. The 3 geniuses defended and fought back with all their might, but their injuries were getting worse. The attribute light balls were also gushing out. Seeing the 3 geniuses' faces turning purple, everyone realized that something was wrong. Oh no, it's going to explode. Damn it, Lin Chun is crazy. Is he going to kill all 3 of them? And Mo Qingshu and the rest are going to turn the tables. This guy is too ruthless. Is he really not afraid of the forces behind the 3 geniuses? I wasn't even 1% of him when I was young. Killing 3 geniuses on the genius roll? Is this guy going to break the sky? While everyone was panicking, rumble, bang. At that moment, the 5 heavenly prisons broke open. They turned into a storm and scattered across the entire existential plane. In the end, they turned the desert sky existential plane into an ocean existential plane. The one who attacked was naturally Old Shun. Little guy, the outcome is clear. You've won. Old Shun's voice echoed across the entire existential plane. As soon as he finished speaking, the 3 geniuses turned into a stream of light and were teleported out of the battle existential plane. So they've attacked. Forget it. Under the current circumstances, it's not that easy to kill those on the genius roll. If they provoke me again in the future, I'll just kill them all. Lin Shin put away the fierceness between his brows and smiled harmlessly. Senior, you must be joking. Why would a handsome guy like me kill them? I just feel that these arrogant young people are asking for a beating, so I'll give them a chance. Who knows? Maybe they'll be able to rise again and improve themselves. The old monster's mouths twitched. Did he just say that he was giving them a chance to beat them up? How shameless could he be? However, what happened next made the reclusive old monsters and mighty figures feel their scalps tingle. They were terrified to the core. After the battle with the 3 geniuses, all the doubts and disbelief were dispelled. The beautiful woman in the peach dress stared at the cold young man beside Lin Shun. Her lips trembled as she spoke. There's no mistake. This is the king of dragons, Gil Im Bang Bang. Chapter 12:57. Win. Old fox. It's definitely the old fox's trick. Damn it, we were fooled by him. He already has the ability to defeat those on a monster genius list. Yes, if he had used this holy dragon right from the start, together with his doppelganger and the huge thundercloud, the 3 monstrous geniuses would have surrendered a long time ago. But he just had to trick them step by step, waiting for them to use all their trump cards and get injured before using the final killing move. It's too scary. Did you see that? The 3 monsters were squeezed by Lin Shun like little chicks, and they were almost crushed alive. Oh no, I'm scared. I need to find a pretty girl to comfort my scared little heart. Don't be scared. Don't be scared. You're too beautiful when squeezed. You're too beautiful when squeezed. The geniuses on the central island were in an uproar. The monsters on the monster genius list twitched their mouths. 1 against 3, and he actually won. This was probably the scariest challenge in the 36 regions. His opponents were on the monster genius list, and there were 3 of them. At least from the 6th and 7th grade forces, there had never been such a monster. This is too unbelievable. The old woman beside the white-robed man was moved. When Lin Shun received Mo Qingshu's 10-sun absolute flame, the old woman knew that the goddess's judgment was right. But she still underestimated Lin Shun. Not only did he win, but if Old Shin did not help, the three of them would have died on the spot. He had to kill these three monstrous geniuses. Goddess, you already knew this result. The old woman bowed respectfully. Byra Oyan smiled sweetly. You overestimate me. No one in this world knows what he's going to do next. I just believed that these three people would not be his obstacles. The old woman was startled and bowed deeply. I was wrong. The goddess is wise. In the desert bit wall, Lin Shen took all the attribute light balls with sparks and lightning along the way. Obtained 200,000 strengthening points, 10,000 thunder energy, 10,000 water energy, 20,000 talent points, 9,000 spiritual power, 30,000 fire energy. Opened 3 5-light supreme treasure chests. Obtained 2nd grade sacred artifacts. Skyflame's sacred hammer. Titanic Tower heaven opening sword. Zimmo flying ring. Lin Shen's stats soared unstoppably. With the last move, Extreme Prison Heavenly Prison, Mr. Lin squeezed out a large number of attribute light balls from the 3 monsters like a sponge. The 3 of them were heavily injured, so the quality of the attributes they dropped was extremely high. The days of picking up attributes were truly joyful. Isn't it good to just quietly be a handsome idiot and pick up attributes? Why do you have to go around causing trouble? After this reserve meeting, what's the point of fighting? I want to be a salted fish and pick up attributes in peace. Lin Shun sighed inwardly. The 21st Saint acupoint in his body loosened slightly, and the hexagonal brilliance flickered for a moment before dimming again. He had yet to completely break through this bottleneck. Lin Shun left the plane and returned to the central island. The desert plain had been completely reduced to a vast ocean. With the power of an individual, the weather of the entire space-time plane was reversed. The influence of the extraordinary divine ability was on full display. In the VIP palace of East Island, a green-robed man, next to the beautiful woman in the peach dress, carried a green sword on his back. His eyes were filled with the 3,000 sword aura storm, and his expression changed. Earlier, Senior Shun said that this dragon and Lin Shun are of the same lineage. They are part of Lin Shun. In other words, they are one. That's right. There's information about Lin Shun. He does have a saint dragon. When I heard that this kid used his eyes to refine pills, he also had a saint dragon assisting him in refining pills. The mighty figures looked at each other and saw the shock and astonishment in each other's eyes. Do you remember what Lin Shin said when he first arrived? He said that he went to the 10,000 Dragons Guild. An old man in a rough shirt stammered with a dry mouth. The hearts of the mighty figures of the 4 islands twitched. If that was the case, didn't that mean Jilling Bang Bang was Lin Shun, and Lin Shin was Ing Bang Bang? Lin Shun was the true king of 10,000 dragons. Amazing. He actually wasn't bragging. This Lin Shun was actually an honest child. Not only did he go to the 10,000 Dragons Guild, but he even took the king of 10,000 dragons. The 10,000 Dragons Guild, one of the supreme banquets below the primordial dragon clan, was actually a human who reached the peak of the new era of the primordial dragon clan and took the king of 10,000 dragons? Even in books, no one dared to brag like this. This was completely beyond their understanding. To dare to sneak into the 10,000 Dragons Guild and kill so many Dragon Clan prodigies and take the first place. How much courage and spirit did one have? It was definitely not something that could be done with brute force. For example, the 7th grade sect master, Ing Tao Tian, could break into the 10,000 Dragons Guild alone with his cultivation. Even if he could not defeat all the mighty figures of the Dragon Clan, he could still escape unscathed. However, it was as difficult as ascending to the heavens for him to sneak in. Not to mention that after sneaking in, he still had to participate in the 10,000 Dragons Guild and stand out from the other Dragon Clan prodigies while maintaining a disguise. This was almost impossible. For example, one day, a leader of the humankind, who had been the leader of the humankind since the beginning of time, created the path of cultivation, taught the saints, wrote the history of the humankind, and left a legacy of the humankind. However, one day, he suddenly told the whole world that he was not a human. How shocking would that be? Ing Tao Tian exclaimed in amazement. Unexpected, unexpected. I don't even dare to think about this kind of thing. I'm afraid that the Dragon Clan is also completely in the dark. Lin Shun is the king of 10,000 dragons, and the king of 10,000 dragons is the god who descended to the mortal world. Lin Shun. The green shirt sword saint's eyes lit up, and his heart trembled as he said with a trembling voice, "Damn, maybe a heaven-shaking sage genius will appear in our human race." Think about it. What kind of potential does this little guy have now? With just 20 saint points, he was able to defeat 3 people on the Demon Genius ranking, and even beat the Saint Dragon inside his body. Then, he defeated countless dragon princes and even the king of 10,000 dragons with a 9th rank bloodline. How terrifying will his future be? The green shirt sword saint even used the word terrifying to describe Lin Shun. This group of big shots came from a rank 7 giant power. After countless eras, they had seen too many geniuses, monsters, and monsters. Even they themselves had nurtured peerless monsters that were on the Demon Genius ranking. Thus, when they saw Mo Qingshu's battle, they were slightly surprised. Other than being amazed at the power of the Godly Flame Palace, they didn't have much of a reaction. That's right, this child is too different. With our experience, we've seen and experienced everything that should be experienced. However, this child is unique. His body exudes a special and powerful aura. This little guy cultivates spirit, physique, and saint force. Each area is extremely outstanding. Now, he can even perfectly control the bloodline abilities of the Dragon Clan. This is an unprecedented for cultivator. Ha. The new king of 10,000 dragons is actually from our human race. I really don't know if those Dragon Clan fellows will be so angry that their heads will fall off when this secret is revealed. Don't be happy too early. After this, we will summon Lin Shun and ask him about it first. No matter what, this king of 10,000 dragons belongs to our human race. This old man's heart is really King happy. Why does it feel like I just ked someone else's wife? Just thinking about those smelly dragons who naturally look down on humans with expressions like they just ate shit. This old man really wants to take this brat to the great wilderness right now. Chapter 1258. Cut the crap. Let's make this clear first. This brat has been coveting our daughter for a long time. No matter what, we have to trick him into making a trip to this old man's family. Old Qing, it's not that I'm looking down on your granddaughter. No matter how beautiful your granddaughter is, can she be as beautiful as the goddess of the Divine Flame Palace? Even if you want to sell your granddaughter, she might not necessarily want her. What are you talking about, you old fart? At most, I'll just put the pill away, close the room, take off my pants, and put out the small light. I don't believe that this brat won't take the bait. I say, do you have any morals? Look at how thin this child has become. He should come to our Peach Blossom Palace and take good care of him. Taoist Nun Peach Blossom, stop talking nonsense. If this brat goes to the Peach Blossom Palace, he will probably lose hundreds of millions. If you want to borrow the seed of a one-night stand, just say it. Why are you beating around the bush? If it were up to me, we might as well let this brat sneak in again and get a few dragon princesses back. We'll make a profit. At this moment, all the almighty figures were actually excited like children. They were either revealing their true feelings, talking about Lin Chen's future, discussing passionately with each other. What was rare was that none of them coveted Lin Chen's secret. With their age, cultivation, and status, they understood what luck and opportunity were. Lin Chen's strength and uniqueness were not external factors, such as the sacred artifact on the surface, but something deeper. Every top-notch expert had their own secrets. Even if they dug deep into these secrets, it would be difficult to obtain substantial benefits that were equivalent to the price they had to pay. They might even die because of this. For example, if an expert coveted the mental cultivation method of a young genius, after kidnapping the genius, he would force him to engrave the key points of the mental cultivation method. However, How could he ensure that the other party did not modify the key points of the cultivation method? Even if it was only a small point that was changed, if there was a mistake in the cultivation, a small flaw could endanger one's cultivation and even cause one's life. At the very least, even if he obtained the other party's mental cultivation method in secret, how could he ensure that he could definitely cultivate it? Could his bloodline and foundation inherit the other party's abilities, and so on? Using Lin Shun as an example, would he be able to obtain the king of 10,000 dragons in Bang Bang by killing him? Questions like these were all unknowns, and most of them were unrealistic. There was no turning back for some things. Sacred artifacts could be snatched, and resources could be snatched, even if they already had an owner. Even luck and opportunities could be fought for. However, the premise of fighting for a fortuitous opportunity was that there was no owner. Once there was an owner, it would no longer be a fortuitous opportunity, but the fate of others. Every single one of these powerful human beings was a saint who was worshipped and worshipped by millions of living beings in the mortal world. Even ordinary saints had to be worshipped by them. The mystic hidden pavilion and other rank 4 sects couldn't compare to them. He was not a narrow-minded person who would rob a young man of his secrets. What they needed to do was to nurture this seed and let it grow into a towering tree. In the end, it would grow to the point where it would affect them and even the world they lived in. Whether this influence was positive or negative, it all depended on the person. Seeing Lin Shun come out of the realm, the geniuses immediately retreated as if they had seen a demon. Old Shun descended from the void and looked at Lin Shun meaningfully. He had been paying attention to this kid for a long time, but his performance in the preliminaries had far exceeded Old Shun's expectations. Old Shun sighed in his heart and walked slowly toward Lin Shun. The geniuses were excited when they saw him. Old Shun had the demeanor of a deity. A snow-white sacred wheel was spinning between his eyebrows. His eyes were shining with an otherworldly calmness, stunning countless geniuses. This Old Shun was someone that even their grandmasters had to address as senior. When he was young, he was also a figure on the demon genius ranking. He was a genuine powerhouse throughout history. He was elusive. Even the geniuses on the monster genius list might not have the chance to see him, let alone the top 100 geniuses on the monster genius list. How could these young geniuses not be excited when they were able to see this living legend at such a close distance today? Even if they could only get a few words of advice from this old mister, it would be useful for the rest of their lives. Old Shun, whom the geniuses admired, walked to Lin Chen's side with a serious expression and patted him on the shoulder. "Kid, can you lend me your jilling bang bang?" Lin Chen was shocked. CK. What does this old senior want to do? The geniuses' mouths twitched a few times. What the hell? Did they hear wrongly? Borrow what? Lin Shun said awkwardly. Well, senior, you're making things difficult for me. I don't want to borrow it. It's not good. You can't let me replace you, right? Old Shin immediately pulled a long face. Why not? It's just 2 or 3 days. Your Jill will affect the balance of the situation between the human race and the dragon race. Don't you understand the seriousness of the problem? The geniuses? Did they hear wrongly because they had too much earwax? What was going on? The geniuses were petrified from the chaos. Lin Chen's thing could affect the balance of the situation between the human race and the dragon race. Was the world crazy, or were they too young? Lin Chen looked serious. Senior, aren't you deliberately making things difficult for me? Old Shun said, this matter involves too many things. It's not up to you. After it's over, come to East Island by yourself. I'll also call all the people from the 7th grade forces here today. You must take out your Jill for everyone to see. Crazy. He must be crazy. The geniuses almost vomited blood. You want to see it by yourself? You want to call the powerful figures from the other 7th grade families to see it together? You want to team up with them? In the hearts of the geniuses, Old Shun's majestic image collapsed. More than 10 female geniuses blushed and covered their faces with their slender hands. Some pretended to be cold, but in fact, they stole glances at Lin Shun from the corner of their eyes. Some were coquettishly staring at Lin Chen's long legs. Just as Lin Shun and Old Shun were in a stalemate, several heart-wrenching screams came from the central island. It hurts so much. My legs, why can't they be healed? I can't take it anymore. Hurry, pull it out. The screams were so heart-wrenching that the geniuses on the central island shivered subconsciously. Everyone took a closer look and saw that the three freaks who were being carried out were lying outside the palace to be treated. The holy light was dense and full of vitality. The realm pagoda had sent out 7 expanse acupoint saints who cultivated auxiliary healing techniques. With the boundary tower's resources, they could even let the 3 of them use the sacred elixir freely. It was because of this that the boundary tower had been chosen as the venue for the preliminaries. However, the 7 expanse cavern realm saints who had saved a dying 5th heaven true saint were sweating profusely at this moment. The beautiful woman, who was covered in a dense emerald glow, stood up and removed her hand from Long Yijing's chest. She turned to look at Old Shun, her eyes filled with disbelief. Old Shun, we can't heal the injuries of these 3 little guys. The moment she said that, all the geniuses and monsters felt their scalps tingle. Chapter 1259. On the mountain peak, the insufferably arrogant geniuses looked at Long Yijing, Xiao Jing, and Mo Qingshu in shock. Old Shun frowned when he heard this. Lin Shun, on the other hand, didn't think much of it. The corners of his mouth curled up. Old Shun stepped into the air and walked to the side of the 3. At this moment, Mo Qingshu's shoulders were fractured, and there was a shocking wound on his chest. It was the size of a bowl. Long Yijing didn't have a single piece of good skin from top to bottom. His flesh was badly mangled, and his facial features were distorted. His limbs were bleeding profusely. Xiao Jing was in a tragic state. His right arm was twisted like a bent bamboo pole. His left leg was dripping with blood. His chest and back were lacerated, and his bones were white. A saint physique wasn't like a war emperor's body. It was no small matter to heal a saint. At this moment, 7 Saint Expanse Meridian Realm healers were using divine pills and mental cultivation techniques. However, they couldn't heal the 3 at all. Even the experts from the 6th-rank sects and 7th-rank giants were stunned by this scene. What was even more shocking was that it wasn't that the Saint Expanse Meridian Realm healers were useless. On the contrary, the 3's life force was replenished. The strange thing was that their wounds weren't healed. The life force and life force of the Saint physique were replenished, but the 3's wounds showed no signs of healing. The wounds were like a hole that couldn't be filled. No amount of energy could fill it. However, they couldn't stop. Once they stopped, all their life force would be drained from their wounds, and they would die. The physical pain was one thing, but the mental trauma was even more serious. It was as if a ball of fire was violently burning their minds, tormenting them constantly. Elder Shin personally reached out his hand to feel their pulse. With just a thought, he sensed their condition and could not help but be shocked. The 3's wounds seemed to have their self-healing ability destroyed. The possibility of recovery has been cut off from the root. Old Shun's words caused a huge commotion. This is too scary. Is this poison? No, there's no poison like this in the world. If they were poisoned, the 7 seniors would be able to tell at a glance. Hundreds of monsters felt their scalps go numb. They had never seen such a terrifying move. It's Lin Chen's doing. All the prodigies and geniuses looked at Lin Shun in shock. The handsome guy didn't seem to care at all, and the smile on his face sent chills down their spines. Just how many tricks does this guy have up his sleeve? Young friend, what method did you use? Now that the outcome has been decided, why don't we spare them? The beautiful woman couldn't bear it and tried to discuss it with Lin Shun. Lin Shun smiled faintly. He was as calm as the clouds and as light as the wind, but he had the demeanor of an overlord. I'm a person who takes revenge when it's necessary and repay kindness when it's necessary. I said that this battle would be unforgettable for them. In my eyes, all living things are equal. They won't be shaken just because they're on a demon genius roll. They're only alive because Elder Shin helped them. Lin Shen walked in front of the three of them and casually said, "If it was a normal battle, they would be dead by now." Everyone was moved. This kind of courage and spirit is really indifferent to life and death. Fearless of heaven and earth, Elder Shen frowned. According to the rules, Lin Chen didn't violate any rules. But who would have thought that his methods would be so terrifying? Kill me, Lin Chen. If you have the guts, kill me and end it all. Long Yijing roared hysterically. Lin Chen smiled and said, "With your current situation, it'll be over in about a month, provided that you can survive it. This situation will continue for another month. My God, wouldn't that be worse than death?" This caused many of the monsters to feel a sense of desolation. At the same time, their fear towards Lin Chen had reached an extreme. This young man looked harmless, but when he attacked, he was more ruthless than anyone. For the first time, these monsters were in awe of someone of the same age. In the past, they relied on their status on the demon genius role to do whatever they wanted. There were very few people in the world who dared to kill them. But Lin Shen was different. He was a living lunatic. They didn't doubt that if Elder Shen hadn't helped them, the three of them would have died. Moreover, he had the means to make them wish they were dead. The three monsters' injuries couldn't be healed. It was the effect of the orange rank innate skill, extermination splitting wound. Mo Qingshu's situation was slightly better. His cultivation was higher, so it would probably be over in half a month. The other two were more miserable, starting at 30 days. In these 30 days, they had to receive high-intensity healing. Once they stopped, there was a risk of losing their lives. Even if their bodies could survive these 30 days, it was another matter whether their souls and minds could be completely preserved. Spare them? Only Mo Qingshu and Lin Chen would consider it. As for the other two, Lin Chen never thought about them. When Lin Chen became a saint in the sacred burial mountain range, his defense was at its weakest. If it wasn't for the little demon empress, Lin Chen would have been dead. Long Yijing brought people to ambush him. From coveting his secrets to wanting to kill him, Lin Chen would definitely kill her if he had the chance. These two people were mortal enemies. Take them away and inform the forces behind them. Before that, make sure they are alive. Old Shun waved his sleeves. When he looked at Lin Chen again, he didn't blame him. Instead, he was full of admiration. His actions were swift and decisive. He was very satisfied with Lin Chen. The seven elders sighed and brought the three people into East Island. Then, the preliminaries continued. The challenges between the preliminaries and monsters continued. However, after Lin Chen's stunning battle, the other battles seemed boring no matter how exciting they were. Bang! At this moment, flowers fell from the sky. Thousands of glazed lights swept across the sky. The four islands reflected the glazed lights and covered the land. It was as if a miracle had descended. The color glaze saint light rose above Lin Chen's head, and his name disappeared from the gold ranking of the genius board. The glazed crystal jade rankings in the hands of the reclusive old monsters shone brightly. A new name replaced God ending sex Xiao Jing. The brilliance on the list quickly spread out and interweaved into new names. A new monstrous genius had been born. Monster ranking number 9815, God descending, Lin Chen. Rumble, a glazed token, as if it possessed great magical powers, traveled through time and space and landed in Lin Chen's hand. The glazed brilliance in the sky continued to display the information of the demon genius list. The monster ranking is issued by the top 10 sections. All rules are not restricted by the sacred boundary. Reward for becoming a new monster. 5 inferior grade spiritual plant of providence seeds. The privilege of being on the freak genius ranking. You can enter secret realms below the 7th rank of the holy world on your own. You can ignore the gifts from the holy empires. The freak genius token will give you an annual allowance based on your ranking on the freak genius ranking. The yearly allowance for 9,815th place is 8,000 gold saint origin coins. Can enjoy the right to kill in the secular world. Sects below the 6th grade have no right to interfere with the actions of the people on the monster ranking. can enjoy the right to lead 5th grade sections. Monster ranking has the right to interfere with any banquet held by sects below the 6th grade. Can enjoy the right to rent 6th grade sections. Sects below the 6th grade can rent the resources needed by the geniuses on the monster ranking without any conditions. Can enjoy. Marshall Lynn's body shook. He was completely shocked. Chapter 1260. Lin Shan finally understood why the geniuses on the Demon Genius list looked down their noses at others. Why did all the geniuses crazily want to enter the Demon Genius list? Those privileges were beyond the limits of the heavens and stood above countless people. Just the 5 plant of Providence seeds obtained from entering the Demon Genius list were enough to support half of a 5th grade sect's cultivation resources. This privilege was just like the lord of the human race in the saint's world. A genius with the Demon Genius token could decide the fate of a 3rd grade or 4th grade sect. As long as he was strong enough, he could directly destroy the sect. What was worse was that he could not fight back. If a genius on the Demon Genius list attacked a 5th grade sect, even if he could not defeat a 5th grade sect, the latter could not hurt a genius on the Demon Genius list. He could even destroy a city or a country with a flip of his hand and kill hundreds of millions of lives without any punishment. With the identity of the Demon Genius list, he could also rent and use the resources of various chambers of commerce. With just a word, he could empty the entire chamber of commerce and give priority to the geniuses on the Demon Genius list. The Demon Genius list was the most unique existence of the human race in the sacred boundary. Most importantly, with the identity of being on the Demon Genius list, Lin Shan no longer had to be afraid of bringing his wandering divine tree with him. Just the name of the Demon Genius list was enough for others to not dare to touch him. It's true that only the Demon Genius list can bully others. No one can bully those on the Demon Genius list. This is the first time I've experienced the feeling of using my identity to oppress others to death. Lin Shan held the Demon Genius token tightly and formed a special connection with it. There was a space of 1,000 feet inside the token, and there was a special space tunnel that would regularly send the annual rewards of the Demon Genius list. It was on a completely different level from the gold list, which only recorded one's identity and other information on the Demon Genius list. From today onwards, Lin Shan was a member of the Demon Genius list, and he truly held the Death Exemption Golden Medallion. On the surface, the human experts and even the 7th grade sects in the 36 regions could not touch him, and he did not have to worry about others coveting Lin Shan's secrets. Little guy, if you have any trouble in the future, you can come to the Realm Tower more often. If you have any questions, you can also come to me. The group of elders were very enthusiastic as they exchanged pleasantries with Lin Shan. This spirited young man was like a treasure wherever he went. Lin Shan declined. When he returned to East Island, a group of powerful figures surrounded him. All the experts walked over with smiles on their faces and surrounded Lin Shuai. Lin Shuai was so scared that he immediately hugged his chest and covered his crotch, trembling. "WH, what are you doing? I'm still a child. What are you trying to do? Don't think that I'm easy to bully just because I'm handsome." "Hey, Yami." The 5th level of the Realm Tower. In the secret chamber, more than 100 top-notch experts from grade 6 and grade 7 sects gathered. Baira Oyan sat beside Lin Shan with a calm expression. Although Baira Oyan did not believe that these top experts would dare to do anything to Lin Shan with her presence, she still chose to stay by his side. "Little friend, let this old man ask you, is the king of 10,000 dragons Jill and Bang Bang really you?" An old man with dragon horns on his head couldn't help but ask in excitement. All the cultivators looked at Lin Shan in unison. Even though they had pretty much guessed it, they still needed him to confirm it himself. Lin Shan sighed and pretended to be deep. "Now that things have come to this, there's nothing to hide. That's right, I'm the one who defeated all the geniuses of the 10,000 Dragons League. Originally, I wanted to hide this secret forever. After all, I'm such a low-profile person. But why is it that my handsomeness always makes my low profile worthless? I really want to be an ordinary handsome guy, picking up attributes and flirting with girls. Why do you guys always find me? Lin Shen raised his head and sighed. Being handsome is really annoying. Many of the experts were speechless. You're low profile? If you're low profile, then no one in the entire sacred boundary is low profile. The beautiful woman in the peach blossom dress giggled. Her beautiful eyes were like pearls, flickering with autumn water. You really are a young monster. Little guy, can you show us your Jill again so we could take a look? Looking at the many experts' expectant gazes, Lin Shen was helpless. With a thought, a blue light flashed from his dantian. Lin Shen's holy dragon appeared in human form. The holy dragon's face was domineering and cold. A pair of purple and red wings fluttered like flames. Yin and Yang dragon aura lingered around his body. His head was covered with a blue light, and his body emitted a faint blue brilliance. This was an aura that Lin Shen deliberately released so that all the experts could clearly sense the holy dragon's bloodline aura. Lin Shen had instead hidden the ancient Taishi dragon and ancient Yin dragon bloodlines the deepest. Although these two bloodlines were as faint as dust in the holy dragon's body, all the human sages present were extremely cautious. He really has 4 bloodlines? Too amazing. Little guy, do you want to come to my 10,000 Swords Pavilion? While all the experts were having heated discussion about Lin Shen, the results of the 4th level's preliminaries were gradually revealed. The results of the battles were not out of many people's expectations. There were not many people who could really compete with the official members of the monster rankings. Among the limited challengers, only Han Yiji and the Genius ranked 3rd on the Genius rankings had won or narrowly defeated the official members of the monster rankings. The other geniuses had all been defeated. However, the experience of this challenge allowed the candidates who had challenged the monstrous geniuses to reap extraordinary rewards. In the future, it would be a valuable experience for them. Lin Shen had been annoyed by these experts for nearly a day and night. He had made all sorts of arrangements and teachings. Although their conditions were extremely tempting, Lin Shen could even learn orange-grade alchemy handprints if he nodded, let alone orange-grade cultivation techniques. Of course, the price was to join their sections. Even if he was just a guest elder, he would still have to obey their orders. On the day of the announcement of the results, there was a sudden change. Boundary Tower, 2nd level. Today, Elder Huang, who was guarding the tower, was having a peaceful day as usual. Suddenly, a figure slowly appeared in the space passage on the 2nd level. Elder Huang was stunned. Why would a guest enter the Boundary Tower at this juncture? Hadn't the space passage been temporarily closed? This person's clothes were whiter than snow. His figure was 8 feet tall, and he stood upright and proud. He carried a sword on his back. His long hair was tied up with a silk scarf, and the outline of his face seemed to have been chiseled by a blade. As his light and agile hair fluttered, one could clearly see that within his golden pupils there seemed to be eternal starlight that was vast and mysterious. His white robe fluttered. White, green, blue, purple, orange, and 5-colored sword auras were rotating behind the young man. They left behind endless brilliance in the space that they passed through. It was as if the stars were twinkling, forming a dreamy galaxy. Elder Huang was slightly dazed. He had never seen such a young genius before. Every move he made and every step he took could trigger the great Tao. He was like a god descending to the mortal world, a sword immortal reborn. This young man was too extraordinary. Even if he did nothing, as long as he appeared, all the light in the world would converge on him. He would become the most dazzling star in the universe. Dear guest, when Elder Huang spoke in a respectful tone, the young man in white glanced at him. Sword aura flashed in his golden eyes. Pucci. 2 strands of sword aura pierced through Elder Huang's saint body, causing blood to spurt out. What? Elder Huang's saint meridians were completely drained, and he spat out large mouthfuls of blood. He clutched his chest and fell to the ground. His eyes were filled with disbelief. He, a 3rd heaven true saint, was defeated with just a look? The young man with golden eyes was like the wind. Every step he took, the stars moved. One man and one sword. He went straight to the higher levels of the Boundary Tower. This person was Lin Xingchen, one man and one sword, challenging the Boundary Tower alone. Chapter 1261. Fourth Level, Central Island. The experts of the four islands had gathered. There were 134 geniuses who had passed the preliminaries and were on the Monster Genius list. Although they were not on the Monster Genius list yet, they already enjoyed most of the rights. The normal procedure was for the candidates on a Monster Genius list to reach the 12 assessment standards in the next 100 years and have a place on the Monster Genius list. They would be promoted to the main selection. Logically speaking, it was impossible for the candidates on the Monster Genius list to defeat the main selection. If the candidates were to defeat the main selection to select the new generation of geniuses, there would not be many places on the Monster Genius list. The gap between the current candidates on the Monster Genius list and the candidates was as wide as a chasm. Be it the cultivation resources or the level of contact, the growth rate was not on the same level at all. It was the first time the candidates could challenge the main selection because of the empty spots on the Monster Genius list. At this time, Old Shin was not around for the time being. Another beauty in green appeared. She was beautiful and charming, but the vicissitudes of life between her eyebrows revealed her age. She was not as young as her face. The beauty in green announced calmly, "The geniuses who pass the preliminaries this time can come to the Boundary Tower to complete the 12 assessments within 100 years. The assessment content will be different from before. Please be prepared before you participate." The geniuses on the Central Island cheered. Some cried tears of joy, some shouted excitedly, some sighed, and some had mixed feelings. They had finally become candidates on a Monster Genius list. They were only one step away from the position they had always dreamed of. Many veteran Saint Stage experts on the four islands sighed and sighed. Once the candidates were announced, they would be the new generation's leading Saint Stage geniuses. The Sacred Boundary did not lack Saint Stage geniuses. Instead, it lacked geniuses with the qualifications to enter the Monster Genius list. This little guy has finally become a candidate for the Monster Genius list. Next, I can give him the treasure coordinates of the rank 6 secret realms that I found when I was young. It's not easy. The candidates for the Monster Genius list are getting harder and harder. He was lucky to be able to stand out this time. Some elders and reclusive old monsters on the four islands heaved a sigh of relief. Becoming a candidate for the Monster Genius list meant that the level of contact would be completely different from before. Just as the woman in green was about to give out the reward, boom, the entire fourth level of the Boundary Tower and the space on the four islands shook. What happened? The green-robed woman frowned and immediately asked, "Elder Lin, this is bad." Someone has trespassed into the Boundary Tower. He has already injured dozens of our elders. Several of our elders are on the verge of death. Senior Lin, please send people to save them first. The Saint Realm experts did not care about private telepathy and directly transmitted their voices to the fourth floor using their saint power. The expressions of all the experts on the fourth floor were very interesting. Someone trespassed into the Boundary Tower? Who is so bold? Could it be a 7th rank giant? Let's wait and see. Old Shen and the others have gone to a higher level. Let's see what Elder Xianlin will do. The powerhouses of the four islands observed the situation quietly. As soon as he finished speaking, the entire space of the fourth level began to tremble. Whoosh! A golden crack appeared in the void, and a sword intent that could break through the 9 heavens rose into the realm tower. A white-robed young man with a 5-colored sword chi behind his back was walking in the air with a sword on his back. He looked extraordinary, arrogant, and cold as he walked to the center of the island. His golden eyes were extraordinarily noble. When he looked down at all the people below the central island, he seemed to be searching for something. This young man, something is wrong. Something is very wrong. Some reclusive, old monsters with profound cultivation bases exclaimed at the same time. Too young. This young man's life force was much younger than the other geniuses on the demon genius ranking. The person who trespassed into the realm tower was such a young sword saint. The powerhouses of the Four Islands did not express their opinions. They observed the situation quietly. The younger generation's grudges would not be easily dealt with by the older generation's experts. If they were to act on their own accord, it would not be something that could be easily resolved by servants acting as hired thugs for their masters. Young man, why did you trespass into my realm tower and injure my elders? Do you know that this is the Sacred Boundaries Demon Genius Ranking Competition? The young woman in green walked in the air. Her eyes were deep as she stood 10,000 miles away from Lin Xingqian and scolded him coldly. Demon Genius Ranking? What kind of trash dares to call themselves demon geniuses? Just a bunch of ants. Lin Xingqian was extremely disdainful as he sneered. His words angered all the geniuses on the demon genius ranking and shocked the powerhouses of the Four Islands. Who in the Sacred Boundary did not know that the demon genius ranking was the most unique and top group of geniuses in the 36 domains? Who dared to call the demon genius ranking trash? This arrogance was simply out of this world. What arrogance? How many cups did this brother drink? How did he lose his brain? This young master boldly guesses that he might have been stimulated by the demon genius ranking when he was young and lost his mind. Many monstrous geniuses were disdainful, and there was even a red-haired youth who grinned evilly. He activated the power of the odd crystal and blasted out a hexagonal starlight palm print that covered heaven and earth. Heavenly flowers rained down, and holy light shone high up. Swoosh! A snow-white sword aura slashed towards Lin Xingqian. Chi! A 1,000-foot millstone-like green tornado stirred up wind blades and blocked all of Lin Xingqian's escape routes. The three hot-tempered geniuses directly attacked. Lin Xingqian was extremely cold. His eyes flashed with a sharp aura as two rays of sword aura spiraled and swept across the sky. Bang, bang, bang. The attacks of the three geniuses easily penetrated and crushed into nothingness. What? All the geniuses and monsters were shocked. Lin Xingqian took a step forward, and the wind and clouds changed. The five-colored sword aura that was like a sword will spun and filled the sky with starlight. In an instant, he became the ruler of the world. I'm here today to find that ant, Lin Xun. You trash don't even have the right to die in my hands. If you want to find trouble, come at me together. Lin Xingqian's words enraged all the geniuses. The other party's words were stepping on their heads. I want to see what kind of ugly melon you are today. How dare you spout such arrogant words? This young master will beat you until your face is blooming like a peach blossom. I haven't fought in a long time. I didn't expect to fight an idiot who doesn't know his place. More than half of the geniuses on the demon genius ranking were provoked and used their movement techniques to fly into the air. This scene was extremely mysterious and magnificent. Over 100 monstrous geniuses stood against Lin Xingqian. The beautiful lady in green hesitated. She could vaguely sense that this young man was not to be underestimated. Quick, inform old Shun. This young man's aura is unfathomable. Don't attack without permission. I have never seen such a person on the Demon Genius ranking. I will protect these young fellows on the Demon Genius ranking. The beautiful lady in green transmitted her voice to the few elders who wanted to attack Lin Xingqian. At this moment, clang, Lin Xingqian suddenly unsheathed his sword. The moment the sword was unsheathed, the mountains, rivers, and clouds moved. The space on the fourth level of the world pagoda throbbed and darkened. It was as if all the light in the world was dimmed by this sword. This was a peerless sword. No one present could see its grade clearly. They could only see that the body of the sword was overflowing with colorful lights and veins that wrapped around Lin Xingqian's 5 fingers like veins. The blade and the tip of the sword were flowing with 5 colored clouds, shining brightly like a divine sword. I only need one sword to deal with all of you. Lin Xingqian was as cold as ice. He looked at the geniuses as if he was looking at dead people. Chapter 1262. There were many veteran experts in the Realm Tower, but they did not dare to make a move. The reason was simple. In the sacred boundary, the more powerful a genius was, the more terrifying their background would be. A prodigy like Lin Xun, who did not belong to any faction, was the only one in history to make it onto the Demon Genius list. This youth was not on the Demon Genius list, but his strength was so terrifying. This further proved that he had an extraordinary background. The Demon Genius list could determine the life and death of a 4th grade sect, and they could attack sects below 6th grade without any punishment. This was the privilege of the Demon Genius list. Similarly, it was the same for those of a higher grade. If this youth was on the Saint Talent list, then his background was not something the Realm Tower could afford to offend. The beautiful lady in green did not make a move immediately. The Demon Genius list was already enraged. If she forcefully made a move, there might be other prodigies who would dissuade her. By then, she would not be able to take care of both sides. She would have to stabilize the situation and protect people at the same time. What she needed to do was to protect the Demon Genius list. If any of them died, it would be the Realm Tower's fault. Lin Xingqian and the other 100 prodigies stood facing each other. It had always been the Demon Genius list bullying others. No one had ever bullied them. As Lin Xingqian sneered, the Demon Genius list made the first move. Myriad Flame Soul Traversing Spear. A prodigy wielded 2 spears and danced in the air, turning into a meteor shower. Every ray of light was like an ultimate spear technique, covering the entire sky. Supreme Mystic Dragon Raising Hand. Another prodigy struck out with his palm. 10 giant dragons appeared in his palm, sweeping through the mountains and rivers, overturning the heavens and earth. Metal Sword Dao, Wind Sword Dao. The demon-like sword saint drew his sword and swung it. Winds howled for tens of thousands of miles, and the violent winds turned into sharp blades. Green and yellow sword auras intertwined with each other as they slashed towards Lin Xingqian with greater ferocity. True Sun Sky Splitting Arrow. A heaven-shattering arrow pierced through the void and shot straight toward Lin Xingqian's head. Rapid Light Splitting Shadow. Thousand Buddha Demon Subduing Palm. Move after move of orange-grade cultivation techniques, supreme killing techniques, and divine might of the martial way were unleashed. All of them struck Lin Xingqian, and the scene was extremely spectacular. All of them were unleashed by those on the monstrous geniuses list, and it was a rare sight to behold. It had been 100,000 eras since over 100 monstrous geniuses had besieged a single person in the current 36 regions. Even though all of them only had 30 Saint acupoints and had yet to expand their acupoints, the power of their attacks was not inferior to that of acupoint expansion saints. A bunch of trash. Take a good look at what a real cultivation method is. Lin Xingqian's shoulders trembled as his sword intent swept across thousands of miles, splitting the heavens apart. At this moment, time seemed to stop. Countless 5-colored sword chi gushed out from his sword as he strode forward like a sword immortal. The sword steels vanished one after another and stood around him. Dozens of sword chi storms were like tornadoes that reached into the sky. Thousands of sword saint phantoms were performing the supreme sword skills around him. It was as if he was the master of the sword arts, and the clouds were supporting the moon. While what? In East Island, a drunken old man suddenly opened his eyes and stared in Lin Xingqian's direction, his entire body trembling in fear. This is the phenomenon of 10,000 swords worshipping God, a realm that even I have not reached. In West Island, a green-robed old man with white eyebrows was shocked. 10,000 swords worshipping God, sword intent godlike. Since ancient times, Only those who have gained the recognition of the sword god can reach this realm. In every era in the sacred boundary, there will only be one sword master with sword intent godlike. In South Island, another old man with an eagle-like face exclaimed in shock. In the current sacred boundary, there's only one sword master with sword intent godlike, Senior Fong Xiaotian, who is known as the Sword King of the land. This kid is actually the second sword master with sword intent godlike. At this moment, the reclusive sword saints hiding in the Four Islands were all shocked. Daybreak. Lin Xingqian struck with his sword. This strike made all the monstrous genius's vision turn black. It was as if the whole world had been severed by him. Only a speck of starlight continued to enlarge in their eyes. In the end, they could clearly see that the five-colored sword qi surrounding the starlight was the tip of Lin Xingqian's sword. Bang! 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 All the attacks of the 100 monstrous geniuses instantly exploded. The central island on the fourth level of the realm pagoda shook as if it had suffered a heavy blow. It instantly shattered into countless pieces, and all the monstrous genius candidates were affected and suffered different degrees of injuries. At the critical moment, the beautiful woman in green stood in front of all the monstrous geniuses. She raised her slender hand and condensed blue ripples to block the five-colored sword beam that pierced through space. Bang! Bang! When the blue light collided with the five-colored sword qi, it finally blocked the sword beam. However, the beautiful woman in green was slightly pale, and she was pushed back dozens of miles by the residual force. The shattered emerald light shot into the bodies of all the geniuses and candidates, protecting their lifelines. The five-colored sword qi's attack was shattered, and starlight was everywhere. When the residual force hit, the faint starlight penetrated all the monstrous geniuses, and they vomited blood and retreated. The tens of thousands of sages on the Four Islands were horrified. Something's wrong. Save him. Save the young master first. Don't attack that guy. Leave it to the realm pagoda. Save the young master and retreat immediately. Tell the sect master not to attack without permission. Save him and run. All the sects that had their own geniuses participating sent out their own experts to save him immediately. The most important thing was that the strongest group of mighty figures had all gone to the fifth level to see Lin Shen's Jill. Right now, there was no one here who could suppress this kid single-handedly. Everyone's first thought was to save him. On the fifth level, while the mighty figures were still discussing Lin Shen's problem. Someone came to the realm pagoda to cause trouble? Something happened to that guy? What? He was injured. Wait a minute, something's wrong. Almost all the mighty figures received the news immediately through their own means. What's going on? Lin Shen was already tired of it. Seeing that these guys were not pestering him, he couldn't wait to find a reason to escape. Old Shun, who had always been sage-like, suddenly stood up, and killing intent flashed across his eyes. Someone actually came to the realm pagoda to cause trouble. Since I took over, such a thing has never happened. And it's a young man. Old Shin tore through the void and flashed. The other mighty figures also left the secret chamber, leaving only Lin Shun and Bai Ruoyan in an instant. Damn, everyone is so fast when it's time to leave. Lin Shen's mouth twitched slightly. Bai Ruoyan smiled sweetly. It's okay, we'll go too. Her slender hand tapped the void, and Bai Ruoyan held Lin Shen's hand and left together. On the fourth level of the realm pagoda, in the sky above the shattered central island, Lin Xingqian's white robe fluttered, and five-colored sword aura lingered around him. He stood with his sword under his feet, like an invincible sword immortal standing between heaven and earth. No one dared to go against him. He didn't chase after the people on the demon genius list. Instead, he sheathed his sword. Lin Xingqian didn't look at the geniuses on the demon genius list who had been injured by him. He strolled in the void, and a sharp sword light flashed across his golden eyes. The eyes of those geniuses who hadn't joined the battle trembled in fear. They activated their movement techniques and hurriedly retreated. Their scalps tingled. 100 geniuses had been defeated by his sword. Who exactly was this person? 100 geniuses on the demon genius list couldn't even take one of his sword. One man and one sword. Who could stop him? You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.